Hey everyone, and welcome to 1.21 Jigowatts. I am Peter, that is Connor. This is our weekly movie news episode show thing that we do. I've already butchered the intro. That's just, hey, we can only go up from here.
Oh, I don't know about that.
We can only go up from here. Or is this average?
I think this is the baseline.
This is baseline, okay. So what do? We talk about, obviously, the news, new movies in development. We typically, not always, but typically there'll be a comic book movie news section. There's typically a horror section. There isn't really a horror section this week, though, just because there wasn't really much in the way of horror movie news. There's a couple of horror trailers, though, in the trailer section, because we talk about new trailers, which is another section. This week has an extra little chunk. Hopefully the rest of it's shorter than usual, so that this doesn't inflate the length too much, but given the Oscars are coming up, we're actually going to do a little bit of predicting as to what's going to win, and we're going to note them down, and we're going to maybe see who won, with, you know, points for each thing.
Oh, it's probably going to go badly for me, because these things usually do, but I'm willing to put my thoughts down in public.
I'm kind of indifferent to the Oscars. I'm kind of it sounds harsh to say I just don't care, but I'm not like super invested in them, because typically most of my favourites don't even get nominated. So
No, that's true. I enjoy the show of it, I think.
yeah, I don't know if I'm going to even bother watching it this year.
Okay. No, me and the girlfriend, we stay up, we have a Tuesday, just we'll sit around. That's it for the evening. We're watching that.
I think there's just like a tedious amount of like time. They overproduce things a little bit that I've just, as the years have been on and I've seen more and more of them, I've become a bit jaded. To me, that sounds like a nice solid like 4-hour block of XCOM 2 time.
I appreciate that.
Actually, I tell a lie. 5 hours. It's usually 5 hours.
It is it's a lengthy affair.
It's a bloated mess, is what it is.
It's no, to be fair, it's 4 hours and then an hour of ads.
I don't give me the ad time. I don't care what the ad time is. The point is that it's on for 5 goddamn hours.
It is.
And I say 5 hours. 5 hours is even being
ads.
kind. It ends up being like 5 hours, like 22 minutes or something stupid like that, because they always run over.
It does, but
You rehearse a show, you hit the times, and you know what? When the actors refuse to stop their speeches, you drown them out.
That's the thing. Your performers and your presenters, they hit their cues. They know, okay, this is the time. But you can't account for those wild cards of, okay, this is people giving a speech, doing whatever the hell they want.
Oh, come on now. It's usually the actors who've got a political message who run on forever.
It is. Well, to be fair, sometimes you get the ones that are just doing the thank yous going on too long as well.
Oh, true. My favourite thank you speech was it. I think it was Tarantino. I'm hazy on the details. I think Tarantino won like best screenplay for
something.
I don't think it was Bastard. I think that was too long ago. Was it Django Unchained? Maybe it was. That sounds like right time wise, but he won a screenplay for one of the movies, and his thank you speech was basically it was basically like he sort of mentioned other people, but ultimately thanked himself for making the right choices of who to hire, and that was basically his speech. And I was like, you know what, I'm on his side here. That was bold.
He went full auteur.
I was like, yeah, okay, that was kind of funny. Still, hey, so yeah, we'll be doing that then. We'll do our predictions, which are wildly misinformed. We've seen a fair amount of the movies, not all of them. We still planning on watching at least one more that we're going to review.
I've seen it already.
Yeah, I'll be watching it. We won't talk about what that one is, though. We shan't say.
I will say I have seen 8 out of the 9 Best Picture nominees at this point.
I don't have it in front of me yet.
Mostly informed.
But I've seen like 6, maybe 7, something like that.
It's 2/3. It's reasonable.
At least it will be once I've seen this last one. And then ideally there's another one that I'd want to watch as well. I doubt I'll have time before the Oscars actually air though. But still, we're going to make our predictions. And if not based on actually having seen the films, just based on predicting
industry buzz,
industry buzz,
how
and
previous awards have been going.
And let's be honest, how predictable those craggy old bastards are at voting. So that's coming at the end of the show. Well, not quite the end. What we've been watching will be after that, but
yeah,
towards the end. So there you go. That's what's coming up this week on the show, and we'll see how much we inflate or not this. So
Should we get started quickly then?
Box office, yeah, we're starting with box office, and obviously Black Panther is number one. I won't make you guess that. Did you happen to see
I didn't. I know we put our guesses in last week.
We did. Do you remember what our guesses were?
I think I said around. No, I remember I said 117 because I went, I don't care about thinking. I'm going with the same guess I did before.
You did. I said 100, which still, big for a second weekend.
Yep.
I'm actually really annoyed because when the first estimates came in, I won. Because it was just slightly veered towards me because it was like 107 million, 108 million. I was like, oh, that's really close, but it's closer to me. However, when the finals came in, it went up to 111. So unfortunately, you take the victory this time.
Okay.
But let's just point that out. 111 million, which is the second highest second weekend of all time.
Oh, yeah, that is staggeringly huge.
Yeah, that is huge. That's insane.
The fact that we were even guessing over 100 million, or you 100 million for the second weekend, and we were like, yeah, it's probably around that mark. And,
yeah, it's
not even being just facetious is insane.
It is doing insanely well. The fact that, I mean, that's still a 44.7% drop, but typically anything that opens at over 100 million, typically you see a 55 to 65% drop.
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's
easily.
normal.
That's nothing to be upset about either.
Yeah, so Black Panther's doing very well, so congratulations to them. And I suppose I should point out what it's at worldwide right now. It is at 770 million worldwide at the time of recording. That is guaranteed to cross 1 billion. It has already eclipsed Justice League. It's already eclipsed
a lot of things.
A lot of things, but I'm comparing it to other superhero stuff that you would think would do better. And it's already... in fact, let me click on the...
that's the thing. It is undoubtedly a better movie than Justice League, as we said last week.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But
that's clear.
It's shocking that that's the case.
In terms of worldwide, it's already number 9 on the MCU's top grosses. And like I say, 1 billion is a safe estimate, which means it's going to go up to at least number 5. There's a very good chance it'll beat Civil War, which is at 1.15 billion.
How insane are those? 4 of those movies already are over 1 billion, like out of the Marvel movies.
Joe, it's funny you say that because I actually think it's surprising it's only 4.
Do you think?
Yeah, I am surprised looking at this that Spider-Man didn't hit 1 billion. And I guess that's just because the reputation was tarnished a little bit with the previous one. But Spider-Man, MCU combined, you feel like that was.
I think they didn't push the MCU connection hard enough in the advertising. Obviously, people were aware going in from Civil War.
Iron Man was all over that trailer.
It was,
poster.
But I don't know. I don't think people. I don't know if people care that much about it being MCU as much as they do about it just being a movie anymore. I mean, I'm
going to argue that because let's be honest here, Marvel are doing so well because they made a brand out of their name.
They are, but that one I don't feel was pushing it as part of the brand as much as the other ones. And then Black Panther was by far the least connected Marvel movie in a long time. It was the most standalone movie that they've had in a while.
I don't think Black Panther's doing very well, and I think it potentially could still have done pretty well. I don't think Black Panther does remotely as well as it has done if it wasn't part of the MCU.
Maybe not. That's fair.
Yeah, or even if you take away the shared universe, Marvel built up a brand. I don't think if it wasn't part of that brand, I don't think it would have the clout to do what it did.
No, I can't really argue with that.
So, no. So I shall disagree with that. Yes, like I said, I'm surprised that there's only 4 so far that are over 1 billion.
Avengers 1 and 2, Civil War.
Oh, go on, look at you thinking. Look at you thinking what the 4th one is.
I want to say Iron Man 3, but I don't know. Oh, okay, cool.
Avengers is 1.5, Age of Ultron is 1.4, Iron Man 3 is 1.2, and then Civil War is 1.15. So
Iron Man was... Obviously, it's the 3rd Iron Man. People like that. Riding in hot, coming after Avengers.
Yeah, I feel like I'm surprised they've not tried to force an Iron Man 4 out of them, just because hey, solo Iron Man can do 1 billion now.
Yeah.
But by the way, I hope you like Black Panther because you're getting Black Panther 2, and you're getting Black Panther 3, and you're getting Black Panther's New Avengers, where he's the leader of the Avengers.
Oh, it's happening.
And his sister's going to be the new Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Because it's happening.
That's it. The next phase of Marvel is anchored around Black Panther and Guardians of the Galaxy.
That's the thing. Guardians is kind of a weird one because it's already had 2 out of 3 of its trilogy. Because the third one's going to be the last of its, maybe
Yeah.
not the series, but it's going to be the last of this current trilogy, right?
Oh,
I feel
definitely.
that's more transitional. I think it's more going to be Black Panther, and if they keep him on, which I think they'll probably do, is Spider-Man. I think
Okay.
that's how you do it. You have Spider-Man, who's the big popular hero that everyone's always had as popular, and then Black Panther's the new hot item where obviously people who read comics have known for a long time, but in terms of the public, in terms of the the pop culture, like knowing who Black Panther is, he's the big new one. Kind of like how at the start of the MCU, Iron Man, no one knew who Iron Man was before Iron Man came
No, he
out.
was a B-lister, wasn't he? Let's be real.
C-lister even.
Yeah. I think my argument against that is, Spider-Man's still Sony. There's only so much
No, I agree.
control that they'll have.
I agree. There's a hurdle there, but I think if they get to play the cards the way they want to, I think your leaders are your new Avengers that are. And when I say leaders, I don't necessarily mean in plot. They're the leader of the team. I just mean in terms of building their tent poles and marketing,
Yeah.
and who are the stars. I think you get Black Panther, which is great. We can say that the Black Panther's going to be the draw now for
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
a long time. So Black Panther, Spider-Man, and then whatever else, maybe Captain Marvel if that hits off, which it might. Brie Larson might end up being like a huge thing out of that. So
Yeah. Alternatively, I can see having having Bucky take up the Cap mantle and
oh
continue
yeah,
that
I mean
as a huge
I
part.
think everyone's been theorizing that since they had Winter Soldier. Like it's like, oh, Bucky's going to get the
Oh,
shield.
they even had that. I mean, as much as I dislike that first Captain America movie, they did have that moment with him.
They did. But the moment in Civil War where they're like swapping the shield mid fight is
Oh yeah,
way more fun.
It's been a long time coming, but I think that'll be another one of their tent poles going forward.
Yeah. Or we have a movie with him and Falcon fighting for who gets to be Captain America because they both became Cap in the comics for a while, so there's going to be a fight.
Yeah, well, you got to have that fight somewhere.
So Black Panther's doing very well.
What else happened in the box office?
What else happened? That's a good question. Number 2 was Game Night with 17 million. Number 3 was Peter Rabbit with 12.7 million. Number 4 was Annihilation with 11 million. Number 5 was 50 Shades Free with 7.1 million. Number 6, was Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle with 5.6 million. Let's just check what that is.
That's a significant drop from the last week, though, right?
28%. That's not
Okay.
huge.
It feels like it's dropped more than it has in the previous few weeks before that.
That is now at 922 million.
Staggering.
It probably, if it does get to 1 billion, it'll just scrape to it and no more. I think it's
I
going
don't think it's going to quite make it.
No, I think it's going to get to maybe like 940, 950 by the time it's all said and done.
I don't see it quite making it, but let's be honest, they don't give a shit at this point. It's a huge success. It's raked in infinitely more
No
than
one was
expected.
predicting 900 million for Jumanji 2. No one.
No, there was 250, 400.
Yeah. Number 7 is The 1517 to Paris. Number 8 is The Greatest Showman. Number 9 is Every Day. And number 10 is Early Man. So that is your top 10 for this week. Alright, so we will move on then to actual news. Which we do have. We have things. We have obviously comic book movies first, as we typically do. So the first thing we've got is some hot rumours for Wonder Woman 2. We have Kristen Wiig apparently in talks to play Cheetah in Wonder Woman 2.
Not the casting I would have expected, I'll be honest.
I kind of like it.
I'm not entirely against it. It's just surprising.
I kind of like it because it's not who you expect. And I can kind of see her doing evil. And I can kind of see it working in my head. And keep in mind, like once she actually becomes evil, she'll have like makeup and CG and
I'm not saying it's a bad choice. It just surprised me. It's not
interesting.
Not what I'd have expected.
Obviously, Cheetah, I think, at least for most fans, I think was the obvious choice for the villain for the second movie. Also, it makes it. I mean, obviously, first female Wonder superhero movie, but at least in a big sense, and getting the current wave since they've been a bit more established. I think it makes a lot of sense in the sequel to also put in the female villain and like have the.
Yeah, I think it was going to be Cheetah or Cersei, right?
Cersei, maybe off chance of Silver Swan or something like that, but yeah.
Yeah. I get why you veer away from Cersei because of we did Ares, so it's like okay, they're kind of similar.
Yeah. Too similar.
I could see Cersei in a third one though.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily excited about Cersei though. In the movie.
Too magic-y for you.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know. Go if you want to do the mythology stuff. Go nuts. Go to Medusa or something like that. go real nuts with it. But
I feel like Medusa's just like a first act villain.
sure, sure.
Not that means don't do it. Do it, but
Oh,
no,
honestly,
don't.
Doctor Psycho wouldn't be a bad choice either for the third movie.
No, not bad at all.
There's potential there. But I think it's an interesting choice. Should they go with it? Obviously, we're getting Gal Gadot back. We're getting Patty Jenkins back, and it's set in the 80s during the Cold War. If you had forgotten those details, so it's interesting to think that when we see her again, if there is a Justice League 2 at some point, she's already had Cheetah in the 80s. That already happened.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can get away with it, Cheetah, the curse. It's like, okay, you can pull her up in the present day and say, well, she hasn't aged because of that.
That's true. The beauty of this, though, the beauty of them setting the Wonder Woman films in the past, though, is they can use Flashpoint to retcon everything, but the Wonder Woman movies are still in continuity because they all happen before the retcon point.
Yeah, that is wonderful. It kind of does feel like a safety net, because there's no real reason to have this be a period piece again.
Not really. It's just because the first one was, and I guess it's just it keeps it standalone and separate. We don't have to reference anything because it's all
yeah. But I mean, it does feel like a statement. If they do decide to flashpoint everything, well, we don't have to change Wonder Woman. That's safe.
Yeah, that's still happening.
We can essentially we can keep what's working.
Yeah. I think it's actually really funny if the DC movies do actually go down the route of using like a continuity changing event like that to fix everything, because that is the most DC thing they could possibly do.
I would respect the hell out of them for
which
that.
is insane. This next thing is just kind of confirming stuff that we said last week. We flat out said Batgirl only exists because Joss Whedon was attached to it.
Yes, we did.
So now we're hearing that Warner Brothers and DC Films have absolutely no plans right now to find a replacement. It's on the back burner. They've got other movies they want to do first, and this
disappointing, but again, not unsurprising.
Non-news, if you will.
Yeah.
So next up, Marvel actually announced a bunch of release dates. Obviously, there's no movies attached to these. They're all like in the list. It's all untitled Marvel film. But clearly, they're getting their next their Phase 4 ready in terms of dates here. Obviously, 2020 is already going to start to have some of these in that. So because this is all 2021 and 2022 dates we've got here. So 2020 presumably is the start of Phase 4, because 2019 will have the next Avengers. It'll have Captain Marvel, and
we did get the Avengers movie pulled forward a week though.
Oh, I had that here as well. I had that at the end of this, but yeah, I got pulled forward to match the rest of the world. So here's the dates, right? You're getting May 7th, 2021. You're getting July 30th, 2021. And you're getting November 5th, 2021. And then...
pretty much the standards of where I expect them to fall.
Except 2022 matches this year, where it's February 18th, 2022, May 6th, 2022, and July 29th. I'm going to make the obvious prediction here and say that February is Black Panther 2. I mean, admittedly, it's 4 years, so it was a bit of a longer gap, perhaps. But I think that's why it's February again that year.
Yeah, no, I can see it. I don't like this release schedule as much, though.
Because everything's in the first half of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, I know July is technically the second half of the year, but it's like right at the start of it.
It's kind of the middle, though, isn't it?
It feels weighted to the first half.
Yeah.
Whereas...
the May, June, July, then the November kind of feels, okay, that's pretty even.
Honestly, I'd like the May one to be in March, because March, July, November would be much more evenly spread out.
Yeah, or at least mid-April.
But hey, so you got those dates. I don't know if you want to make any guesses as to what some of these might be. Like I say, February 2022, I'm expecting Black Panther. We know that Guardians 3 and Spider-Man 2 are happening in 2019, I think.
Yeah.
Sorry. Guardians is 2020, because it's 3 years after the second one.
Okay, when's the first Captain Marvel movie?
2019.
That's the 2022 one.
That'll be a 2022 one, yep.
I think that's the summer 2022.
Okay. July or May? July?
The July one, yeah.
Yeah, so you think May is going to be something bigger? That'll be like an Avengers movie,
in the same way how we have Avengers and then Ant-Man this year.
Yeah.
I think it'll be the big one in May, and then it'll be Captain Marvel in July.
Yeah, I think May, whatever the May date is in 2020, it'll be Guardians 3, because Guardians has proven that it was big enough to be the May slot when there's not an Avengers film on.
No, I agree with that. That'll be the big one to carry the year. Obviously Black Panther will probably be bigger, but in terms of right now where we're looking,
Black Panther's not going to be that year though.
No, you're right.
We're talking 2020 here, so
yeah.
You know, honestly, I mean, as much as I'm saying February, it wouldn't surprise me either if they said Black Panther's going to be the May one next time. Like whatever year it hits, they say that's the May
That
release.
gets the big slot.
Yeah, but obviously I'm expecting at least one Avengers movie in here. You know, whether it's like Avengers 5 or New Avengers, where they've kind of jigged the whole system and it's all new characters. You know, when I say new characters, I mean not Iron Man, Thor, and Cap.
Legacy.
Yeah, Legacy. It'll be Black Panther and whoever else is on the team
Can
at
I
that
just
point.
say, it's what a screwed up world we live in, where Marvel are getting to legacy characters before DC.
I know.
What is going on?
I don't like it, but that's the thing. Also, there was a date change for 2020. There was a movie that was scheduled for August 7th, 2020, is moved up to July 31st, 2020. So, which is a week, which isn't really that big a deal, but I thought I'd mention it since it was in the story.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
So there you go. So they're sticking to 3 a year pretty consistently. So that's at least, another 4 years of that.
It doesn't surprise me. I think 3's working out nicely for them.
Yep, no, it makes sense. I think I can see them having the temptation to go to 4, so then it's quarterly. But I think that's maybe
they're pushing it and they know it.
Yeah.
I mean, they were at 2 for a long time, and then they edged their way to 3, and now they're going.
Here's the thing, though. I actually think that's helping with the because they've got Black Panther and they're making Captain Marvel and they're making like diverse movies. I think that actually is why they're getting away with having 3. Is that at least one of them per year is something a bit different.
No, I agree with that. It's like this year.
Because this is the first year with 3, by the way. Let's point that out. I mean, it feels like.
I mean, yeah, last year's a weird one because we had Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, last year kind of counts because we had Spider-Man. Yeah, you're right.
That's the thing. It's kind of a half, like, kind of. Because they moved their slot around Spider-Man. Because I think Thor was originally in that slot. When they first announced this, a couple of years ago now, obviously.
Then I get you.
But so I think that you're right that the extra movie gives them that freedom. But this year's kind of, Avengers is obviously the big one. That that's the safe bet. Black Panther has turned out huge rewards, but it was the riskier movie from their perspective.
And it could end up actually outgrossing Infinity War, amazingly.
It could, and then
again, no. Here's the thing about Infinity War, though. It's not only is it the third Avengers movie, which is a big deal on its own. People who love Black Panther then get to go see that because Black Panther's in it.
Yeah, exactly. But then also the third movie this year is Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's a bit of a smaller one. You're giving the female the co-lead on this one as well, so you're kind of moving out there a bit more into the more diverse territory. It's not the
baby
safest
steps.
movie. Yeah. It's not like all out. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, so you call that a smaller movie? Huh.
I know. It was intentional. I'm glad you picked up on that one for once.
What do you mean for once?
Just I feel like whenever I do something witty, you overlook it.
No, you just make shit puns. That was a nice little insert. But hey, so that's your slate coming up over the next few years, and I feel old looking at we're talking about movies coming out in 2022. We're starting to get up there in numbers there. I'm not liking it.
I don't know why we're speculating. I'm like, why? Because let's face it, give it 6 months, they'll give us a big slideshow with all of them.
Probably. I wonder if they're going to save that though for
after the next Avengers, after 4.
Well, they have to tell us the ones the following year before then. I think. I don't think they can keep those a secret until then. But I think in terms of getting a full slate, where so here's Phase 4 and it's up to the end of 2022, I think, they may save that till after Avengers 4.
I think it really depends how 3 ends off and what 4's doing. Because, we're sort of speculating 4 is still just kind of a sequel. It's like, part 2, but they're not calling it that. If it is that, then I can see them holding off. If it's something different. It's
the same directors. They shot it back to back. They extended everyone's contracts so they could do it. Like
I agree. In theory, it sounds like that's what it is. But just in case it's not, I don't know. That's where I can see them doing something different.
Small bit of cast news for Captain Marvel. Gemma Chan has been added to it as Minerva. I think you say that. she's a Kree geneticist and spy. You might know her from the TV show Humans. She was in that. But hey.
I never checked that out, although I did mean to.
But yeah, so she's going to be in that, and they're keeping the plot of this under wraps. Although we do know it's set in the 90s, I believe, if I recall.
Yeah, it was definitely pre MCU.
Yeah, so I'm still calling it now. Post-credits scene on Infinity War is like her waking up in present day, a la Cap. She's been trapped in a bubble or something for
Either that, or she's just been off doing space stuff.
Well, no, but I don't think she's just been doing it for 20 years. I think there'll be like either it's because time is relative and it'll just be like a time difference and she comes
Yeah.
back and it's been a jump in time for her, or she's been in
Frozen.
stasis or something.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be she's just been active for.
No, but I think
20
her
years.
just being in stasis is a bit too Cap.
Sure, maybe they'll bond over it.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe she'll get back and she'll make a reference, or he'll make a reference to something, she won't get it, and he'll be like, huh. That's what that feels like.
I think either way that works because
true.
even
Yeah.
if she hasn't experienced being frozen in the same way, she'll still be the out of time.
Yeah, I think she's definitely in Avengers 4, and I think we might get the tease at in the post credit scene for, because I think that's how you build to it. You give the biggest movie they've got this year, give her a little tease at the end.
Yeah, and then she comes in as reinforcement, so to speak, in 4.
Yeah. So so there's that. Quick update on the New Mutants film that obviously got delayed by like 10, 11 months. The rewrite of that is adding in a new character. We don't know who the character is, but I think it's notable just in the sense that they're really changing this.
That's going to be fun for reshoots to fit that in around the established movie.
It depends how much they're reshooting. I mean, given that you can reshoot all of Kevin Spacey's stuff in that movie that came out last year,
Like
and
4 weeks or whatever it was,
and not push the release date, and I know this is probably going to have some more effects on it and stuff, but I feel like 10 months to me says they're reshooting a significant amount of this.
Oh, I agree. This is like when we got the Justice League reshoot.
I mean, hell, Han Solo practically reshot the entire film of that, and they didn't push the date.
As much as we expected them to, they stuck to it.
So, I feel like...
Isn't it crazy? We should have had... I don't know if we should have had this already or if it was in the next couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But it was supposed to be around now.
That was April. It was April 13th. It was because it was Friday the 13th it was coming out on.
Okay, so, we should have had this in about 6 weeks. And instead we're just talking about, there's a whole new character.
Anyway, moving on. Brian K. Vaughan apparently has been hired by 20th Century Fox to write a standalone Silver Surfer movie.
Why?
Good question. Now here's the thing though, I'm sure there's some Silver Surfer fans who are screaming at us right now. I mean, as someone who's never really read much of Silver Surfer or even Fantastic Four, I really don't.
No, me either. I know a lot of people praise Dan Slott's run on Silver Surfer for being very Doctor Who.
Oh,
he takes a companion from Earth and does some space adventures. Apparently, it's pretty good.
I don't know, just the lot I've seen of them has never appealed to me, but hey, it does show that Fox are still gearing up, their Marvel properties, despite the fact that this deal might be going through. So they're clearly trying to squeeze more things out. Obviously, we get the Kitty Pryde movie going on, in the works that just kind of started, and then some other stuff. So they're definitely not showing no signs of slowing down.
Definitely
with this deal in place.
not. They're doing whatever the hell they can.
If it's almost like the people think they're going to be out of a job, so or at least maybe those toys will be taken away from them, so they're just trying to pump out as much Marvel, like X-Men and stuff content.
Yeah, I guarantee Gambit still won't happen in time.
Oh no, I don't even care about the deal. The deal could not be happening. I still don't think we see Gambit in 20 years.
No, this is the thing. They're rushing all these other things because, like, quick, we won't be able to do it anymore. Let's do it now. Gambit, they're like, whatever.
All right, next up, the director of Dope, Rick Famuyiwa. Famuyiwa. I'm sorry. Famuyiwa. Oh, maybe that's that. Famuyiwa.
This is why the opening was baseline.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Rick Famuyiwa. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. Anyway, director of Dope. Dope was a pretty decent movie, and he has signed on to direct an adaptation of Black Hole, which is a comic book. It's based on for News Regency, and this is coming from the Hollywood Reporter. It's set in the suburbs of Seattle during the 1970s. The story follows a group of teenagers who contract a mysterious sexually transmitted disease referred to as the Bug, which causes them to develop bizarre, unique physical mutations and I can't speak.
Subsequently?
Thank you. Subsequently. I don't know why I'm struggling to say that. I don't know.
It's not a difficult word. It's
It's
just
not.
you get stuck on it, and that's it.
I'm just having one of those days, and they become social outcasts. Many of them running away from home to live in the nearby woodland. So yeah, and also this is where the director's who was attached to the Flash at one point, and
Yeah, I recall that.
then left. That sounds like an interesting premise, though.
It does. I enjoyed Dope a fair amount. I thought it was a very, that was a pretty good movie. So yeah, I mean, I'm down for this.
Yeah. So so that sounds interesting. Which does take us on to some general news now. So first up, then we're back to dates. So we've got a lot of Marvel dates, but we have some other dates here as well. Basically, Warner Brothers have announced that $6 Billion Man, starring Mark Wahlberg, which we heard about a while ago, but that's going to be coming now in May 31st, 2019. And the only other thing on that day is a Blumhouse horror film, which is Untitled.
I still don't care about this movie.
Well, Mark Wahlberg's in it, so I mean,
Exactly. I like the idea in general, but Mark Wahlberg, I'm kind of like, you got to convince me.
They've also announced a romance drama called The Sun Is Also a Star, which is going to come on May 17th, 2019. New Line Cinema, of course, who are like a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, they have set release dates for 2 untitled horror films, one of which is April 19th, 2019, and the other is July 3rd, 2019. And they also already have It Chapter 2 scheduled for September 6th, 2019. So this is some movies with dates. Obviously, untitled movies don't really tell you much, but I mean, the fact that New Line have got like they're basically trying to be Blumhouse 2 by the looks of it.
Hey, it's working for Blumhouse, so.
Well, it's working for them too. It made $700 million, so they're doing okay.
Yeah.
And then lastly, The Kitchen, which is the Melissa McCarthy movie based on the comic book, is set for release on September 20th, 2019. So a lot of 2019 dates.
I have just a quick question there. Why was that last one not in the comic book movie section?
Because it wasn't with any of those articles. It was with this article.
It's just shoddy organisational skills.
It's part of this article. I wasn't separating everything out.
Of course you do. If it's a comic book movie, it should just slash it from that article. Put it with the comics.
You can probably say the same about this next one, actually, if you really want to.
Yeah, go on.
So yeah, Sony announced the Crow remake is going to be coming on October 11th, 2019.
Well, 1, yes, I'm going to say the same thing. Should have gone in the last section. 2, yeah, makes sense to give it an October release.
Never occurred. I put it next to the other one because it was just more release dates. What do you
No,
want
I get you. There's a logic.
So it's a remake of the 1994 film directed by Alex Proyas. Has a bit of a cult following. This one's going to star Jason Momoa with Corin Hardy directing. Momoa starring it means it's going to have a very different vibe from the first one. Brandon Lee,
because dude's big.
Dude's big, yes. He's going to have a very different look to him. Although apparently they're wanting this to be a more faithful adaptation of the book. I never read the book, although I don't remember hearing much complaints about it being, straying from the material too much. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's
I think from what I remember hearing, it kind of captured the tone, if nothing else.
This remake has been in limbo and in development hell for over a decade.
Yeah.
At one point, the company that had the rights went bankrupt, which delayed it for a while.
I recall.
There's been several actors attached. There's been several directors attached, but apparently this one might actually happen. But we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, I have no attachment. I've never even seen the movie, to be honest. I've seen bits.
I've seen the movie. The movie's not bad.
Yeah, but I like Momoa. I like the concept.
But so this one has a date, which means it's the furthest that any of them have ever got, I believe. They also announced dates, that being Sony. They've announced dates for A Dog's Way Home on January 11th, 2019, and Miss Bala for January 25th, 2019. So they've got some dates announced. So that's the release dates out the way, which is a lot of numbers. So maybe not the most exciting thing in the world.
Unless you're because you love numbers.
Not with dates.
No? They're the exception to the rule, are they?
No, this thing where I love numbers, that is wildly incorrect. That's misunderstanding the ones I like.
I'm sorry.
That's just not getting me correctly. But let's move on to the other news. So, first up, Quentin Tarantino's next film, the 1969 film. Two things. They've cast another lead actor in the role. Obviously, we have Leonardo DiCaprio already. They've also cast Brad Pitt in the film. That was the new news this week. Along with the title. It now has a title, the film. It is called Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
It's a pretty good title. Give it that.
I do actually like it a lot. I like it. It's obviously Once Upon a Time in the West, Once Upon a Time in America, the Sergio Leone films that are very good.
Once Upon a Time is just classic storytelling opening.
Oh sure, but I think it's specifically a reference to those movies.
No, I agree. In specific as well. It evokes the idea of stories, so it suits Hollywood.
So, yeah. So, story takes place in Los Angeles in 1969 at the height of hippie Hollywood. The two lead characters are Rick Dalton, played by DiCaprio, former star of a Western TV series, and his longtime stunt double Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt. Both are struggling to make it in a Hollywood they don't recognise anymore, but Rick has a very famous next-door neighbour, Sharon Tate. So we're getting maybe a more idea of what the actual plot's going to be, because we knew it was going to feature stuff from that era, that year, everything that's going on. But it seems that we're getting like who the main characters are and kind of how maybe they're around these things as they're happening. I think it could be very interesting. I actually really like the title. I'm actually like, because before it was just a 1969 movie.
Yeah, it's like, okay, it's fine. I get what you're telling me, but it's not a title, is it?
And obviously, both those actors are people he's worked with before. Inglourious Basterds for Pitt and Django Unchained for DiCaprio. So it's actually kind of exciting to see what he does with two of them together and how they play off of each other.
I'll likely never watch it, but I will give it props for the title.
In case you're some weird anti-Tarantino
person. I just don't get it. I'm sorry. I don't think he's bad. I just don't get it.
What do you like that I don't get?
Magic.
I was thinking a filmmaker, but yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, sure, but you could just say, Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, sure, Harry Potter. It's fine.
Yeah, I love it.
I don't get it. I don't get why it's a phenomenon.
That's how I feel about Tarantino. I just don't get it. I see it's not bad. I see there is skill involved. I just don't get the enjoyment.
Next up, Chris Hemsworth has been he's in talks for the Men in Black spin-off, the reboot that Sony's trying to get going. They've also got obviously we've said this before, but F. Gary Gray is directing it. We had that story back when it first broke. The writers of Iron Man are working on the script. They've set a release date, June 14th, 2019. So, just over 2 years.
Chugging along, no?
So it makes sense that they're casting right now, and they're hoping to get it shooting late this year. Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith are not expected to come back. I do think that Chris Hemsworth is probably one of the more exciting names they could have got for this, because he's very good at comedy, and I feel like he might be perfect for this kind of thing.
No, that's fair. I don't think I appreciated how good he was at comedy until not just Thor Ragnarok, but the shorts that they did before that, which is obviously Taika Waititi did those with him. Until I saw him carry those, I didn't really appreciate how good he was at the comedic timing.
Yeah, no, he's very good at the comedy. There's not much known about the film, other than it'll be grounded in the original premise of a covert force policing the alien population hiding in plain sight.
I don't like that word, grounded.
No, it's not. No, you're misunderstanding what it's saying there. It says grounded in the original premise.
Okay.
It's saying that it's not going to do something wacky and different.
Okay, I'm with you.
It's going to be Men in Black.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Which, I mean, yeah, I guess it's good. Honestly, though, despite the fact that I saw Men in Black when it came out, and despite the fact that I loved it as a kid, I have very little attachment to that franchise.
I have fond memories of the first one.
Whenever I've rewatched it, I'm like, yeah, it's fine, but I don't. It's not actually that great a movie. It's just kind of okay.
No. I think though, when I say that good for being grounded in that, I like that tone. I like that concept. I want it to be that, but maybe better. Don't get me wrong.
Because I like the actors in it, of course. They're kind of what make it, really. Yeah. But out of the Will Smith movies at that time, I feel like that's the one that, in a weird way, is kind of aged the most. Where I just it's not terrible. I just have no interest. Whereas, say what you want about it, but I can watch Independence Day really easily.
Yeah, fair enough. I'd take Men in Black over Independence Day personally, but there's not much in it.
If I'm picking a movie with Will Smith fighting aliens, I kind of prefer Independence Day for all its stupidity and and I love Tommy Lee Jones, but I also love Jeff Goldblum. And
they're both great.
so make your choices. So yeah, that's interesting. I think that's actually a really good casting call for it. And I'd be down. I mean, I'd even if it was just a Men in Black 4 with the same cast, I still see it. I still saw the third one, even though I wasn't that caring about it. It was like,
yeah, the third one was fine, better than the second one. Obviously,
two
it goes without saying.
Yeah, two's the bad one. Two's like terrible. I just don't think it ever actually reached any great heights either. It was just, that's what it is.
Yeah. I actively like the first one. 2 is a bad movie. 3, I think.
Do you know what I think it is? Do you know what my distaste I think is? It's that Danny Elfman score. I hate it.
No, I can see that. It's maybe the worst part of the movie.
It's full Danny Elfman.
It is.
Because obviously you hated the Justice League score. I didn't hate that score. I didn't like it particularly, but to me that's like neutered Elfman. Men in Black score is full. I thought I was working with Tim Burton and didn't realise when I wrote the score that this wasn't a Tim Burton movie. So it's full Danny Elfman.
Yeah. Do you know what? On the Justice League score, I saw the vinyl in the store last week, and it's got such gorgeous cover art. I was like, oh man, I want to buy that just to have that. But then I was like, I can't buy that score. I can't bring myself to do it.
So that's Men in Black. That takes us on Disney's live-action Mulan. No, we're back to release dates here. It's been pushed back. It's been delayed. So this is a delay. It was meant to come out in November 2018, November 2nd specifically. It has been pushed back to March 27th, 2020. So,
quite a delay then.
Yeah, what's that?
No,
it's over a year. Yeah.
Yeah, year and a half almost.
Yeah, I was thinking it was like just a half year, but no, it's over a year because it's.
Yeah. You did say 2018, right?
Yeah, 2018. Yeah.
Yeah, that's quite a delay.
Yeah, and we've got a director, we've got a lead star. Chinese singer actress Liu Yifei is going to play the lead role. She's also known as Crystal Liu. That's her stage name, I guess.
Easier to remember.
Yeah, but yeah, they've also that's the other thing that was attached to this actually. So Anna Kendrick's in a female Santa Claus film.
I'm down. I don't ever like Christmas movies, but I'm down.
Right, and it was dated for November 8th, 2019, but they've pulled it from the schedule.
Oh no! What'd you do this for me?
Because now it's going to be exclusive to the streaming service.
Oh, those pricks. Who is this again?
What do you mean? That's Disney.
Disney, okay.
Yeah, the new big streaming service is coming in 2019.
The one I'm paying for anyway because it's going to have Star Wars. That's fine.
Yeah, that was meant to be November 2019, but now it'll probably be about December, I imagine, on the streaming service when it launches.
That's fine. As long I'm going to get to watch it. When you said it was pulled, you gave me like, oh, you're getting an Anna Kendrick movie for Christmas. It's like, oh, this is great. And then you went, it's getting pulled. I went, oh, just deflated. It's fine. I get to watch it. I'm good.
Interesting though that they're looking at that and saying that's not going to be big enough in the theaters, so let's just hold it for this because this isn't one that's big enough where this is a draw. This is just like, oh no, that wasn't going to do that well.
This is a bonus.
Yeah, this is we're going to just throw that on the service because we don't think it's going to do that well in the theaters. I think
that's interesting because obviously Anna Kendrick is relatively bankable.
I think she's. It depends what bankable means anymore, because stars aren't that bankable in the way they used to be. There's a few names. There's The Rock, there's Chris Pratt, and there's Robert Downey Jr. and that's maybe Jennifer Lawrence. Maybe she's bankable.
We'll see how Red Sparrow does before.
Scarlett Johansson. She made Lucy a hit, and Lucy probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
So there's like maybe half a dozen actual bankable stars. I feel like everyone else is very good and people like them, but I don't think they make people go and see movies anymore.
Okay, that is true. When I say bankable, I mean reliable in terms of marketing, where people will go, oh, I know who that is. I like her. I might go see that because not necessarily because of her, but it'll be like, oh, there's someone I like there.
Yeah, but hey, so that's the thing that's happening.
I'll be honest, I've seen movies just because of her. Let's not lie.
Called Noelle. I've never done that. I like some movies with her in it, but that's about it.
No. I've seen a good handful just because she was there. I went, oh yeah, we'll go watch this.
I don't think there's any actor I've just seen a movie because they were there.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, there's not many, but there's been times where I've gone to girlfriend and gone, hey, let's go see this one.
There's definitely times where I'll just be watching a terrible movie and then I'll be pleased that someone's there that I like, but that wasn't why I put it on. I just wanted to punish myself because life is...
you're an awful human.
Yeah, life is just awful, and why would I be happy?
Yeah, it is that, isn't it?
That takes us on. So the reboot of Highlander is apparently moving forward. They've got a writer who worked on Colony, that TV show, to do.
That fills me with promise.
Yeah, do the script. So it's been turned in. The script's been turned in. And pre-production is set to start later this year. Why is it later this year and not right now, you ask? Because the director of John Wick, Chad Stahelski, is going to be doing it, and he's waiting. They're waiting until he's done with John Wick 3. So that's going to finish filming this year.
So this Highlander's going to have some cool action, right?
Cool action scenes, most likely. So yeah, this has been another one that's been in development for a long time.
I do feel a little bit bad for typecasting that director, but it's kind of what he does, right?
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, he must like doing action because that's
That's what he does. It's his wheelhouse. It's what. Yeah. It's
So Summit Entertainment got the rights to the franchise in 2008, and they've been kind of like stumbling along trying to make something ever since. So that's been a decade. So here's what I hope for the Highlander reboot, assuming they actually have Scottish characters in it. Which
you say this is a Scotsman.
I hope that there's actually Scottish accents in it, or more specifically, I hope the characters who are Scottish have Scottish accents, unlike the original, where the one character who has a Scottish accent is not supposed to be Scottish.
Yep, I can't argue with that.
All the accents are really dodgy. I mean, Christopher Lambert, his accent is this weird concoction that sounds like no one ever on the planet. He's got such a unique voice, and then eventually Sean Connery shows up, and the first words out of his mouth is, "I'm Ramirez and I'm a Spaniard."
I don't think Sean Connery could do anything non-Scottish.
It bugs me. I remember The Hunt for Red October. He plays a Russian naval, or like a submarine captain. He's a submarine captain. He's Russian, and he's still like, "I'm from Russia," and it's just.
I think he gets away with it because he's Sean Connery, and no one wants to say anything. But do you know
the funny thing is, though? That bothers me more, but at the same time, no one in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie ever questions what his accent. Like he works in the CIA in some movies, and no one ever questions the accent. No one ever says.
No, that's true. When he's doing government officials and
no one ever questions it. No one ever just. And I mean, I say it's not like someone can't work in that position.
It's typically unlikely.
But it's not even for those positions though. I'm just saying that in any of his movies, whether it's Kindergarten Cop, whether it's something where he's in the CIA, like True Lies or whatever, no one ever says, "Oh, hey, that's an accent. Where are you from?" No one ever says that. Everyone just assumes that he's actually just from like Dakota.
Do you think they were just all the people who were involved in the movie? Maybe they were in the script or something. Someone suggested it, and they were scared of saying it to him. Like,
he might hurt us, so don't mention it. And I wonder if that's what made Tommy Wiseau think he could get away and pretend that he didn't have an accent.
He saw people do it with him. It was like, hey, he gets away with it. Why can't I?
I do not have an accent. I did not.
Yeah. You're American, mate. Sure.
I'm from New Orleans. You're from where? I'm from New Orleans. You're from where?
Yeah. Okay. To be fair, though, I can't place his accent for the life of me.
Oh, no, you can't place it. He's like Christopher Lambert. He's got such a unique accent, you just can't do it.
Yeah.
He did eventually admit that he wasn't from New Orleans, though. Eventually.
Yeah, the reigning theory is Eastern Europe. But even that, like his accent's like, where in Eastern Europe is that accent?
I like the B.D. Cooper theory.
That's a good theory.
Or D.B. Cooper. Is it D.B. Cooper?
Yeah.
I think it's D.B. Cooper.
I think it's D.B., yeah.
That's why he has so much money.
Yeah.
He pulled off that. I mean, he should be much older than he actually is if he is D.B. Cooper, but still.
Hey, he lied about his age once. Maybe he really is a bit younger than we think.
So, what was I getting to? Yeah, so Highlander's happening, and they're extremely pleased with the script. Apparently, that's the scuttlebutt. Deadline. Whoever wrote the article, Deadline's like, have heard that they're really happy with the script. I'll admit though, having the John Wick guy do it does make me think, maybe it could be something.
Yeah, a bit different. Instead of the gunplay, we'll have some actual sword play for him to get his hands on.
Yeah, bit of both actually. If I recall, the first one kind of it has guns, and then the swords are when it's like, okay, now it's a duel, so they'll pull out the swords. Yeah. But it's like there can only be one, and
that's true. But obviously, he's known for his gunplay action. at this point.
Yeah, I love how I went double Scottish to say there can only be one, even though
I
no
know
one.
you do this all the time. Whenever you quoting actual Scottish, you play up your own Scottish accent even more.
But the reason why I'm pointing out in this case, though, is that no one in the film actually has the Scottish accent to say it,
No, they don't.
except Sean Connery, but he's not supposed to be Scottish.
I do think it's amusing that a lot of our viewers think you have a really strong accent. We've heard it many a time.
Oh yeah, they know nothing.
No. I hear you go. Yeah, I can hear it's Scottish, but it's pretty mild.
Yeah. But hey, so Highlander. So I'm sure we can make lots of Scottish jokes when Highlander.
Oh
comes
yeah,
out.
when it comes, I don't even care about Highlander, but I'll watch it just to make the jokes with you.
Here's the question though: do they have the All Queen soundtrack again?
They should, because Queen are awesome.
Have you seen Highlander?
Yes.
Right. Okay. I was just curious. There's a really
Not in a long time, admittedly, but
there's a really cheesy joke in it where Christopher Lambert, I can't remember what he does. He does like a little trick with one of his powers in front of a kid, and he goes out to the kid who's watching. He just sort of winks and goes, "It's a kind of magic," and then he goes away.
I'll be honest, I don't remember that. Like I said, it's been a long time since I watched this movie. But
Also, I physically can't wink, so I was kind of like miming it there.
can you not?
I can't do it without my other eye like half shutting.
Can you not do it with either eye? Because some people can only do it with one. No, never mind.
No, no, I can't. I just can't do it.
You know how some people can only click with one hand. Some people can only wink with one eye.
No, if I'm trying to subtly seduce someone, I can't wink at them. I need to get inventive with that.
I'm pretty sure I can do it, but now I'm on the spot. I don't want to try it.
Go on, give us a ginger wink.
I think it works more with the right eye.
It does. The other one looked like you were having some at the start of a seizure or something.
Yeah. I do it with that eye.
Alright, let's move on.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop winking at the camera. It's getting weird.
So next up, we got our reboot in the works. You ever heard of 9 to 5?
No.
I've heard of it. 9 to 5. It's a comedy from the 80s, but they're in the early stages, 20th Century Fox that is, of making a reboot. It'll focus on 3 young women dealing with sexism and chauvinism in the workplace, who turn to the original trio who were in the first film, who were played by Dolly Parton, Jane Fonda, and Lily Tomlin. So some who's of the middle-aged variety of the 80s.
Yeah. And obviously Dolly Parton had the song.
Oh, well, of course. I think this. I assume the song was written for the movie.
Presumably, which is why I was hesitating when I said no, because obviously I was familiar with the song, but I'm like, not the movie.
Yeah. No, I knew about the movie. So yeah, they turn to them for help in navigating and getting even with the coarse male higher-ups. Sources say that they're in early talks with the creator, Pat Resnick, who had done the original movie, to team with a younger writer, and the person they want is Rashida Jones to help write the script, to sort of bring the ideas into the modern generation. So that's the thing. Yeah, so the actress, that's what the original plot was about. The actress starred with Dabney Coleman, who played a sexist, narcissistic, lying bigot boss. The 3 play secretaries who watch themselves passed over for promotions and their ideas stolen in a culture of rampant sexual harassment. After the boss blackmails one of the women, played by Parton, into sleeping with him, she instead shows up with her cohorts. They kidnap the boss and keep him tied up as they uncover his embezzlement scheme and a way to cash in. This sounds ridiculously relevant. That
it does, doesn't it?
I mean, obviously it's a comedy, so it's taking a lighter touch to it, but I see there've been a lot of fulfillment of a team of 3 getting back at their sexist boss. There's some humor potentially. I don't know if the original film's loved in in a quality way. Do people are fond of it, or is it actually a really good movie? I'm not actually sure.
No, but it makes sense today, and I like Rashida Jones well enough. I've not experienced much of her as a writer. I'm just looking up her writing credits. Mm-hmm. She did the Hot Girls Wanted documentary, which I did watch. It was okay, but it's a documentary. But more notably, she did write the episode of Black Mirror Nosedive.
Which was pretty good.
It was all right, yeah. It wasn't the strongest, but it was definitely solid.
Yeah. And I think what may happen with this now compared to the original, just as the hunch here, is I feel like this will be a little bit more satirical.
I feel so, yeah.
Just because of the world we're in today, because of the Me Too movement, because of all this stuff, I feel like this will just be a little bit more satirical, and will actually have like a maybe more of a poignant. I mean, again, I've not seen the original movie, so I can't comment on like, well, they did this or not. But I'm going to take a guess and say that it is more of a straight comedy in the sense that it's just having fun with the premise. Whereas this, I can see
which
maybe
you could do in the 80s.
Which you could do in the 80s. Whereas here, I feel like they might make more of a it'll be really funny, but it'll be making a point while it's being funny.
It's a statement movie.
Yeah. So that's cool. And then speaking of reboots. Warner Brothers are finally. This is another thing that's been in the works for a long time, but they're closing a deal, or they've just closed a deal to reboot Logan's Run, which is going to be written by Hunger Games writer Peter Craig and directed by Simon Kinberg, who's directing X-Men: Dark Phoenix.
Okay.
So, have you seen Logan's Run? I assume not.
I haven't. It's been on my list to watch for a long time. I've never got around to it.
I've seen it. It's a pretty good sci-fi movie. It's kind of overshadowed because Star Wars came out the same year.
Yeah, I think we spoke about this recently, didn't we?
I think we mentioned it, yeah. I don't know why, but it came up in conversation.
I don't know if it was on this show last week or, but definitely recently we've mentioned this.
It could have been anywhere because it was like I was bringing it up to compare it to something, so I don't know if it was. It may have been during a review. I have no idea.
It might have been. You even mentioned the Star Wars reference in there.
Yeah. So it feels very kind of like. Just kind of old school next to Star Wars for the time period, but it's a pretty decent idea. It's set in like an underground society in the future where it's basically a utopia. But the one rule is that when they turn 30, they get killed. They're sort of put into the system, and obviously eventually there's some corruption going on, and eventually one of the people who are it's their job. They're the police who track down the people who are trying to run. He and a woman go on the run and they have to escape, and that's what the film's about. It's about them getting out.
I do recall, that when you brought it up, it was to do with that age part of, okay, you hit this age and then something, and then that's it. It was to do with that when you mentioned it, because I recall that specifically. But that in the last week or so. But I think it's a good idea. And like you say, it was old school at the time, but now that we've got some space from that, it's like, yeah, okay, it's fresh again, I guess.
Well, no, it's not the idea was old school. It was just the sets, the costumes, the way it was done was old school.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But now that's like, okay, we can go back to that and do it slicker, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I'd expect. I'd expect something that's a bit more edgy, because it's got a very kind of... What's the tone I'm looking for? It's got a very... kind of, I don't want to say light-hearted. I'm thinking of science fiction from the 60s and 70s. It had a very specific...
like a romp.
How do I say romp? There's no grittiness to it. It's a very sort of clean sci-fi movie.
Okay.
But not clinical, not clean clinical. Clean in a...
safe way, maybe.
Kinda, yeah. I'm not quite sure how to explain it, but it's a vibe that a lot of sci-fi movies of that era have. And then Star Wars kind of came and changed it.
I kind of get what you're saying.
Yeah.
'Cause I've seen other movies from the time.
Yeah. But yeah, so the actual official thing here is the story is set in a utopian society in the future where population and consumption of resources are maintained in equilibrium by killing people as they reach 30. It follows Logan 5, a Sandman killer, as he runs off his Jessica while being chased by another Sandman after he faces death himself. So that's basically what I said. But
yeah, we already covered all that.
So, apparently this is the interesting part to me, is the studio is hoping that Logan's Run can replicate the success of Blade Runner 2049.
No, I see what they're saying in the sense of, okay, this is maybe not quite as a classic as Blade Runner in the way that people view it, but of that time, and then, okay, we can update it and do something new with it.
But it's just weird for them to say that when Blade Runner 2049 lost money. It failed financially.
Well, that's because they spent so much on it.
But so I think it's weird. I mean, if they're saying they want to replicate the buzz of it, then
or
maybe like...
I think success in this case, they're not measuring the metric of hard cash. They're measuring success in terms of critical reception, in terms of the buzz that the general audience had.
If this was on the CW, it would be changed to 21. It'd be when they turned 21, they'd be killed.
Yeah, I mean, 25 at a push, but definitely not 30.
Right, well, that'll take us on to the trailers then, and we have a batch here. I will say my first critique of the trailers this week, I think we have 10, is that a lot of them are quite forgettable. It'll probably take me a minute with each one to just remember exactly which one each one was.
I'm looking through the list because obviously you send me the list of trailers to watch, just titles and YouTube links, and just on looking at them, I can maybe tell you 4 or 5 of what exactly they are. Yeah,
there's a few of these here that were just very kind of bland, but let's get started. So the first one was Ralph Breaks the Internet. Yes. And obviously this is the sequel to Wreck-It Ralph, and it looks like a Wreck-It Ralph movie. There's a couple of things that made me chuckle. It's an interesting idea, them going out into the internet. This is a fun idea. Well, I'll say, I remember liking the first one, but being just kind of mildly disappointed that it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. Where they end up getting stuck in the one world after, because all the exciting stuff happens in the first half hour where they're traveling around and they meet Sonic and they meet Mario and they meet.
I can appreciate that. Yeah.
They meet all these different things and there's references to video games, and then they get stuck in Candyland for the rest of the movie, and I was like, oh, we're just staying here now for the rest.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying.
This one, on the other hand, from the trailer, looks like there's going to be a lot more journeying, but they're definitely not relying on other properties. At least not in this first trailer. There's almost
more just the ideas rather than its specific properties.
Which is probably smarter. It's definitely got more weight to it because it's not just, hey, here's the thing you recognise. You like that, don't you?
It's something we've criticised for the Ready Player One trailers.
No, I agree. I think that's fair. I think the reason why it was disappointing in Wreck-It Ralph is because I thought, okay, so they're going to use those things. They're going to say he's in this world, and it's going to be a comment on how different games, and because it was doing a lot with his character where he felt useless and he felt repetitive, and it was reinvigorating him as a life. There was a lot of actual character work going on in there.
There was, yeah.
But no, I do actually like the second one. It seems like it's all the ideas they're focusing on. It's the ideas of him invading a mobile game without actually it being a real mobile game that we know.
It's the idea of globalization, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the way that the internet has transformed the way we communicate, and things changed in the sense of for this movie in particular, it's okay, we were confined to this small space. We had our local communities. Now we expand. Now we have all these different cultures to deal with, essentially.
Yeah, so it looks okay. I think if you like the first one, I think this trailer will probably tickle your itch.
I did quite like the first one. I thought it was a pretty fun trailer. Again, I like the characters, as you said. So yeah, they seem to be on point here in this trailer.
Yeah, it seems like they're playing with various ideas. I was amused at him being actually interested in all the clickbait that was coming up to him and saying, "Hey."
The clickbait cracked me up. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, clickbait was kind of funny. But it was an okay trailer. I don't think it no pun intended. I don't think it breaks the internet, but
yes, no. It's a very solid first trailer.
Yeah. Next up, we had the trailer for a HBO film, which debatably should this put on the TV news. I don't think so because it's still a movie.
It's a TV movie, but it's a movie nonetheless.
Yeah. So it'll be judged as one. It is for Fahrenheit 451, which is based on a book, of course, by Ray Bradbury. And I have actually seen the original film that was based on this book some time ago. I want to say the 60s was when it was made. Really, old school.
Any good?
I remember enjoying it. Yeah, obviously very old school, very slow pace, kind of 60s sci-fi. But I remember digging the IDs and stuff. This has got Michael B. Jordan and Michael Shannon in it, though.
That's a solid cast if you want my attention. 2
of the best Michaels currently running around.
I'm not sure I can argue with that. I mean, throw in Michael Caine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, you're right. Two great Michaels, and 2 great actors that they get your attention, don't they?
Yeah, it's a dystopian set in the future where censorship's reached a point where he's part of this squad that goes around and making sure that books are burned, and they're talking about how internet of old. That was a phrase in the trailer. I was like, that's a fun idea because internet is still relatively new, just in terms of generations speaking.
Comparative to when this story was written, it's a whole new concept.
Oh, exactly. So obviously they're adapting it so that it works for us, like because it's set in the future, so it has to kind of address everything else we had.
I think that's something I always credit with adaptations to be able to do that.
Unless they're going to go with a retro future thing, which can work, can be a fun thing to do. But obviously they're making the choice to say no, this can be our future.
Yes.
So that's what they're going with it. So no, obviously it's only about a minute long. It's not a long trailer, but it's definitely got a dark tone, and it's got like a. Obviously, I feel like it'll be exploring some really fun ideas, and as Ray Bradbury was known for writing any science fiction stories, really poking at that kind of thing.
Yeah, so. No, I think this is a really solid trailer. It's like I say, it gives you a really good sense of the tone. If you're not familiar with this for whatever reason, it tells you what to expect from the plot as a general premise at least.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes, okay, this is why it's important. It's about the preservation of knowledge at the very least. Clear from the trailer, you get what the point of the movie is.
Oh yeah, not knowledge is dangerous. That's the thing.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll take us on to The Outsider, which is this actually came out just over a week ago, but I felt it was worth including since it. Because this is the thing, I check a few places for trailers because there's no real good definitive place to go check to see all the trailers. So I have a few places I check, and if it wasn't there and it doesn't pop up till the following week, I'll just put it in because if it's unless it's a busy week and it looks dull to talk about. But this is a Netflix movie that's hitting very very soon, and it is Jared Leto, who is basically joining the Yakuza in Japan.
Yes.
And I don't really like Jared Leto, so I'm turned off relatively quickly.
I will agree with that.
It seems like an interesting idea. Him trying to integrate. He's basically trying to pay them back because he was a Japanese war criminal essentially, or war criminal. He was a war prisoner, I should say, not war criminal. And
they kind of save him.
Yeah, and he wants to repay them by becoming one of them and completely, integrating into their society. And it seems like things will get pretty violent because of that. One scene in particular looks like he's bashing someone's head in with a typewriter, but.
It does, doesn't it? It looked like a solid trailer, at least, if not amazing, but solid. I mean, are we thinking of checking this out?
How busy are we when it comes out? I don't know.
It's out March 9th, so next week. So day after Jessica Jones.
I'll say probably not. I mean, if we get interest, if people tell us they want us to review it, then maybe. But I'm not.
I guess it depends if we get bored with Jessica Jones quicker than we expect.
On day 2?
Not quite that quickly. I mean by Monday.
Oh sure, yeah, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not feeling particularly excited.
I'm not particularly fussed by it. I'll be honest.
All right. So next up we have Birthmarked, which is a movie. What's her face? What would you call her? I want to say Toni Collette.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Her and her husband are scientists, and they decide to then adopt some kids, and they treat it as if it's a science experiment. With the idea, because the trailer opens with them saying, "Oh, we're going to take this kid who's from this family, and they're a bunch of idiots, so we're going to treat this girl as a smart person. We're going to make sure she's smart. This aggressive family, we'll make sure he's a pacifist, and then this family will make sure that kid's the opposite." And they're going to do that, and then it becomes kind of a comedy about the kids who are all kind of very kind of weird, they're all over the top characters because of how their parents have raised them, and then it kind of becomes a joke about how the kids are actually kind of normal and they're just going to be whatever they're going to be, but the parents are the messed up ones because they're trying to do this. It's basically just a whole comedy about
nature versus nurture.
No, I wouldn't even say. I mean, maybe that'll be the part of it, but I think that what the comedy is actually about is you can't plan for parenting. You think you can prepare. You think you can say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, my kid's going to be like that.
You can't choose your kid's career path from birth.
None of it goes to plan. None of it, it's all fluid, everything changes and evolves. You can't, which for a scientist is, obviously something that, intrinsically, it's not an experiment, is what we're saying. It's not you can't treat parenthood like that.
It's no control study, is it?
It seems like it has some fun humour.
It looks alright, yeah.
Yeah, I like the kids seem funny from the trailer.
I agree. It looks solid, if not amazing, but maybe there's some funnier stuff that we're not seeing in the trailer, and maybe the jokes flow better in context. Sometimes that happens.
I have no problems with watching it if someone puts it on. I'm not necessarily thinking I'm going to go out and seek it out though and
No, no.
Go
Yeah,
hunting for
for
it.
anyone interested, theaters and on demand, March 30th.
And I'm not, and obviously anytime I say that does not rule out the possibility that by the time it comes out, there's a lot of buzz that then changes that opinion. But obviously we're just basing these on the trailers themselves, which leads us on to the next trailer, which is Apartment 212, which is a movie about someone who moves into Apartment 212, of course, and someone's left a disease behind.
It kind of feels like it's a zombie movie, but not quite.
She's got a disease. She starts looking kind of ill over the course of the movie, but I'm not sure.
She has these bite marks.
Yeah, but I also get the impression it could be the twist is she's just kind of going crazy. Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm not sure. The last like 20 seconds of the trailer kind of seems like there is something going on.
It's a messy trailer. I feel like I didn't really get what the.
Yeah, what the point of the movie is.
There's no hook. I wasn't hooked by it, and ultimately it was kind of uninteresting.
It's not. I think the biggest hook is they go, "Hey, Kyle Gass is in this. You know who that is?" Assuming you do.
I don't.
Is the other half of the Tenacious D with Jack Black.
Oh right, okay. Alright, sure. Oh yeah, now I'm thinking about it. I guess he. Yeah, I guess
Yeah,
that's him.
yeah, that's him. But yeah, it's not a great trailer.
Can't he fight the virus with song?
Oh, if only.
Um, moving on, film called Beast. Remind me which one this is, Connor.
I'm gonna struggle because I'll be honest. I know for a fact I zoned out halfway through this trailer.
I know what
and
this is.
Checked in again like towards the end. I was like, wait, what just happened?
I know what one this is. This is so woman starts dating man. She has kind of I say woman. She might be like a late teenager, and her parents are kind of disapproving. But the guy's kind of weird, and there's been like some kids have been killed recently.
Yeah.
And there's like sort of like, is he the killer because he's kind of this weirdo outsider, or is he not? But she's kind of falling for him, but then she starts to suspect it might be him, and there's a lot of like sort of tense like speculation and like, you know, is it him? Is it not him? That was this trailer.
I like I said, the first minute or so, because it's a 2 minute and something trailer.
Mm-hmm.
First minute or so, I'm like, yeah, okay, and then I just kind of realized about 2 minutes in, I was like, oh wait, I didn't really pay attention to the last minute. I kind of zoned out. Because it was so just by the numbers of what it was doing. I don't know. A very predictable, standard, average trailer.
Yeah, it didn't necessarily set my world on fire. Yeah, just kind of again we're getting into sort of mediocre trailer land here, which leads us nicely on to the Amityville Murders, which was the next trailer, a prequel to the Amityville horror. About the husband that ends up killing his family inside the famous house, and it looks like a really mediocre, badly acted movie.
I have no interest in watching this. I'm sure you and Tim will cover it on Screams, and I will leave you to it.
Oh, if we have time to do the other 4 or 5 before then, sure.
Is it actually a sequel, or is it just a retelling?
It's a prequel.
Oh, is it? Okay. I didn't realize it was actually still part of the franchise, or if it was just a separate.
I mean, it's probably relatively separate, but still.
Okay, no, all right, I'll allow it.
My completist rules dictate that I must have seen the rest before I see the new one.
Yeah. Well, you and Tim can schedule for that.
And yeah, I mean, Amityville Horror's not even that good a movie anyway. Like the name and like the real life history of it, like gives
it's more
it
interesting than the movie.
Well, not even that it's more interesting. It's just it gives it this extra bit of cred where it's talked about as if it is one of the main horror franchises, and it isn't really. No one really loves the Amityville Horror. No one cares about it. It's just kind of an okay-ish movie.
No, I agree.
And it just exists there. And then there's a remake that I never saw yet. I've not seen any of the sequels either. I've only ever seen the first one. And it's basically just, you know, husband goes nuts and kills family. It's kind of shiny.
Pretty standard.
In that sense. But hey, that's the Amityville Murders. Doesn't look particularly good. Next up, that's another trailer that was actually kind of just over a week ago, so it should have theoretically been in last week's show, but again, somehow it never popped up everywhere.
You missed it, so it's here.
See, you say I missed it, but everything...
No, I don't blame you. I agree. I follow a couple of, trailer channels on YouTube, and I'll sometimes see something that's like, hey, I saw that like 2 weeks ago. Why are you only putting that up now?
Yeah, it's just bizarre. Reddit trailers failing me here and being a little bit late in a couple of these. But Final Portrait, it stars Armie Hammer and Jeffrey Rush. And Jeffrey Rush is this eccentric painter, and he wants Armie Hammer to pose for his final portrait. And he sits down to pose, and he's like, "Oh, I need to fly out tomorrow, and so you'll be done by this." "Oh yeah, I'll be fine. And then he ends up like, he keeps scrapping his paintings. He keeps like, "Nah, I'm done. This one's crap. I'll do another one." And it seems like it's going to end up being like a long thing where Armie Hammer actually goes and speaks to other people. He comes back. It becomes this thing where he keeps going back to him. It seems like a sort of quirky drama comedy about this painter. And
I agree. It's funny you say it'll be, how long will it go on? The final sentence of the description that it gives here is, the process will only take a few days, but leaves the other one ultimately wondering, how much longer can this go on? So, yeah, pretty much.
I thought you were going to be more specific than that. I thought you were going to tell me it was exactly like
No, but just you going, oh, it seems like that. That is how that is the final hook of the description. Is that exactly going? That's what this movie is.
I thought the trailer had like a nice bit of charm. There was some nice moments, specifically at the end when it was like giving you the actor names, and they were all kind of popping out of windows and stuff. Like, there was a nice sort of quirky, almost European vibe to it.
I agree. It had a good flow to the trailer.
Yeah, and I think there could be a good sense of humour. I don't know if I'm necessarily excited for it itself, but I do appreciate the trailer and how it presented it, and
it's something that I might check out at some point, but I'm in no rush. But the trailer was good enough that I'm like, maybe.
But if you do watch it, you'll be in Jeffrey Rush.
Very good, very good.
Next up, we had a trailer for a film called Book Club, which is a story about how 4 old women read 50 Shades of Grey and get really horny.
Pretty much, I'm out.
Bunch of notable names are in there. Mary Steenburgen's the one that I remember off the top of my head.
Jane Fonda was in there.
Yeah, Jane Fonda, there you go. And it's basically it's one of these comedies about old couples realising they can still have sex. And
it's such a tried and tested thing, isn't it?
It is. It's like...
There's at least 3 of these a year. And
I'm just like...
I assume these appeal to old people, but maybe I'll find out in 50, 60 years. Assuming I live that long.
The only time I was close to amused was maybe when Steenburgen's character, she's talking to the guy and she's handing him some zip ties and she's like, "Are you going to tie me up?" Because she's been reading 50 Shades of Grey, and he's like, "What did you say?" He's like, "Oh, no, nothing. This is
okay."
And I'm like, yeah, I can see some potential there, but I mean,
I'm gonna skip.
This is a comedy that is definitely not aimed at us in any way.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
if you're into these old people start having sex again comedies, you can still live again when you're old. Then by all means, go and enjoy it. But it looks like a sort of run of the mill kind of film.
Yep.
And then finally, we've got a film called Chappaquiddick, if I'm saying that correctly.
I think you are.
Which is based on a true incident of a US senator who, through some, and I don't know a super amount about the real incident, but I'll just call it reckless driving. Obviously, the real story and the plot of the movie, I'll probably go into it in a much more specific sense. But he ends up getting a younger woman killed. In this case, played by Kate Mara, and it's Jason Clarke, who's the senator in this case, by driving off a bridge. He drives off a bridge. But the suspicious part of it though is he doesn't report the incident for like 10 hours. He doesn't immediately go and get help. He just kind of leaves and she dies, and it turns into a big sort of conspiracy and like what really happened, what did he do, and a lot of the movie seems to be him dealing with his guilt, maybe not even really being sure what he did.
Yeah, he seems like he doesn't remember it exactly.
Yeah. So there's a lot of him looking like he's about to snap and like go crazy because he can't remember things properly. Which then leads you to think, did he go crazy and drive off the bridge intentionally, or was this just like trauma? Is this PTSD? Was it an accident?
Yeah, we don't know. It looks all right though.
Really, it looks okay. Obviously, I like Jason Clarke. He's pretty good.
Got Ed Helms in there as well.
Yeah, looking very different actually. He's got a very different look to him than usual.
Does, yeah. Just
the glasses and the sort of the tweed jacket looks very different.
And I typically like Kate Mara well enough.
No, she's okay. I like her better than her sister. Her sister, for some reason, really bugs
definitely,
me.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but Rooney Mara, for some reason, just really annoys me.
That makes sense.
That's it. I just watched the Fantastic Four 2015 movie again this week. And,
Idiot.
Kate Mara was
Yeah.
in that with her bad wig.
Yeah, but that's not her fault. Let's not blame her for that movie.
Of course, I'm not blaming her. I'm not blaming Michael B. Jordan either, or
Miles
whoever
Teller.
else. I mean, Miles Teller's got a face you want to punch, so
He does, but it's not his fault that that movie was awful.
I'll let him take some blame. No, it's fine.
All right, fine.
I'll let him take some blame.
I'm not defending him that hard.
So no. And this the small island this happens on is called Chappaquiddick, which is why it's called that. So no, and obviously it's a period piece. I believe set in the 60s.
Yep.
Or maybe right at the start of the 70s, because I do know that the controversy from this is actually kind of what inspires JFK to run for president. So,
Okay, cool.
So it's right around that time period. So yeah, late 60s sounds right. So there you go. That's the trailers this week. When we always pick our favourite of the week, and I think the answer for me is fairly obvious. I think Fahrenheit 451 is definitely the most interesting looking movie. Arguably, Final Portrait might be the better put together trailer.
I agree with both those sentiments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that will take us back out of the news, and we had all the big headlining stuff in the first half. This half is more the other stuff that's a bit different.
The leftovers.
Not the leftovers, because I was still cutting stuff. I was, this week again, I was taking the axe out to a bit more. I was like, no, okay, this is less interesting. This is less interesting. Like, this is the sort of thing we'll talk about when the trailer hits. But right now, it's just not that. Not that fascinating to discuss. But first up here, we've got Netflix have ordered a film called Past Midnight about a new kind of vigilante superhero, and they're hoping that Keanu Reeves is going to star in it. That's what they're looking for. And funnily enough, we're actually back to a director that I was talking about earlier and couldn't say his last name. Rick Famuyiwa. Hey, that was better. I'll just leave it at one.
You'll get there one day.
Is going to be directing it, and the Russo brothers are producing. So that's what's happening. The plot's been kept fairly under wraps, but we just know it's a new type of vigilante superhero story. But they want Keanu Reeves.
I'll be interested to see how they do a new type of vigilante.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I feel like I've seen so many types of superhero vigilante that new will have to be something to surprise me, genuinely.
But we got a good director, so I mean, and Keanu Reeves is pretty likable.
I agree. Not my favourite, but he's solid in that sort of role.
And who knows? Maybe it'll all come together and be an excellent adventure. But
it might well. I got that. Don't worry.
Did you get it? I'll just make sure
I
you
did,
got it.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, TriStar Pictures has acquired worldwide rights to The Woman King, a film that's inspired by true events and will star both Oscar winners of Viola Davis and Lupita Nyong'o. The original story is from Maria Bello. It's based on true events that took place in the kingdom of Dahomey, I'll say, forgive my pronunciation of that, one of the most powerful West African states in the 18th and 19th centuries. The Woman King tells the story of Naniska, played by Davis, general of the all-female military unit known as the Amazons, and her daughter, Nawi, played by Nyong'o, who together fought the French and neighbouring tribes who violated their honour, enslaved their people, and threatened to destroy everything they've lived for.
Yeah, sounds alright. I like both those actresses.
I do. And yeah, I think Amazons are in. Basically, is my thought of that. So it sounds expensive. I can see that's been a big expensive. I don't know if I'd quite call it Oscar bait, but I could see it being.
Yeah, no, I can see it tickling the fancy though.
I can see it tickling that, especially because apparently the original story focuses on like their like the mother-daughter bond, and like so you have that combined with the fight and then combined with the.
I don't think it sounds inherently Oscar bait.
Not bait. I didn't want to say that.
Just tickling their fancy.
Yeah, dealing with a lot of things. I think I could see it being a unique film in terms of locations and like set dressing and stuff. It'll be a very unique and specific culture they're dealing with.
18th, 19th century Africa is not something I feel like I've seen very much.
No, you don't get a lot of it. So there you go. Next up, QC Entertainment is going to finance Sapien Safari, which is the directorial debut of Sharlto Copley, who of course you might know from District 9, a bunch of other stuff. He was in Free Fire this past year, a bunch of stuff he's been in. But he's also going to star in the film, Uh, QC Entertainment also are the ones who funded Get Out last year. So, I mean, as I say, when it comes to financiers, it doesn't necessarily mean that the movie's quality is going to be anything similar, but it is worth just sort of pointing out that they took a chance on something like that. So maybe this is also something...
No, I agree. It's something where they saw the script and went, do you know what? Yeah, okay, we'll put our money where our mouth is on that one.
So Copley wrote the script for it as well. Sapiens Safari is a social comedy that focuses on alien naturalist Riblik, if I'm saying that right, but it's a made-up word. So I mean, I'm not, I'm not too feeling bad about it if it's not. Who is compared to the Steve Irwin of the galaxy, who faces an uphill battle to convince the green new owner of Earth that its dominant wildlife species is worth protecting. So Earth is the reserve.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And
Steve Irwin of the galaxy. That's it. I'm sold.
Yeah, so that's the premise. It sounds unique. I'll give it that.
It does.
It's comedy, sci-fi, a bit of social comedy.
I get it. The title makes sense as well. Hearing that Sapien Safari. Okay, I see it.
Yeah, it works. So that's the thing.
They come and visit us as like a zoo and be like, oh hey, look how they live.
Yeah, look at that ginger. He's a rare breed.
Yeah. He's protected.
Notice how he's shying away from the sun.
Yeah.
Like a vampire.
That's where the myths come from, obviously.
Next up, Danny Boyle is teaming up with Richard Curtis on a music-themed comedy for Universal Pictures and working title. I can see your eyes lighting up as
I swear I've had Danny Boyle news for the last 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, he's working on the James Bond thing as well, obviously. But so Curtis, of course, did Love Actually and a bunch of other stuff, and they're working on a film together. It does say the plot details are unknown at this time, but
no, I like Danny Boyle well enough. I like Love Actually quite a lot. It's one of my more favourite rom-coms.
Never seen it.
I don't know if you'd like it that much necessarily, but I got quite a kick out of it for some reason.
Yeah, that's fine. Moving on, Universal Pictures and producer Will Packer have teamed up for a film called Fight Night. Now you're going to think, oh, that's a boxing movie, right? Or it's maybe a mixed martial arts movie. One of those.
Sure.
Not quite. So they've optioned the life rights package for an action comedy that Lars Jacobson will write based on a true story of one of the most daring heists. So it's a heist movie.
Are you sure? Fight Night doesn't sound like a heist.
Well, let me explain the plot, and you'll get why it's called Fight Night.
Please do.
So Fight Night is the story of Atlanta-based hustler Gordon Chicken Man Williams and Atlanta's first black detective, J.D. Hudson. Set in 1970 on the eve of the Muhammad Ali's comeback fight in Atlanta, the film centers on a post-fight party thrown by Williams that was attended by some of the most dangerous gangsters in the country. They were all robbed at gunpoint for over $1 million, making it to this day the largest heist in Georgia history. Which, I mean, I don't know how much that's saying. It's one state. Like if you said U.S. history, I'd be like, oh, that's. I mean, I'm assuming it's not that big.
But then you go, it's just Georgia. Who cares?
One state doesn't make you feel it's a big deal. If it was the whole country, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but it's when it's national level. That's when I care.
Yeah, but just a state feels like okay, sure, but
that's it. State's still local level. I don't give a shit about local.
How many $1 million heists are in one state? Like I don't.
I guess it depends on the state.
True. How many $1 million heists are in Delaware?
Probably not many. Nothing happens in Delaware.
Alright. It sounds like an interesting premise, though.
Yeah, that sounds alright, actually.
So it sounds like a different type of heist movie. I can see them playing with the whole 70s grittiness of it. And
also, Chicken Man is an amazing name.
Sure.
Just throwing that out there. I'm going to connect to that character because it's called Chicken Man.
I think that's potentially. I like the idea of planning a heist that's not like a bank or something like that, where it's not all these rich people are going to be in a room.
And that's a bit different because it's gangsters. It's like you don't rob the gangsters typically.
Yeah, like robbing a bunch of just millionaires who wouldn't defend themselves, but compared to a bunch of gangsters who, if they have a chance, they're going to
hit back. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I think it sounds alright actually. And I'm not big on necessarily gangster movies, but the heist aspect of it sounds fun.
Yeah. Next up, we have a biopic called. Well, we don't have a title for the movie yet, but Grace Hopper, an American inventor and computer scientist and Navy admiral. So a biopic about her. Have you heard of the name Grace Hopper?
The name's familiar, but I couldn't tell you where from.
Well, we got people working in the screenplay. Lauren Hynek, Elizabeth Martin, doing that. They're writing the upcoming live action Mulan film, which of course just got pushed by
delayed,
a year and a half. But obviously they've written that script, so they're done their job.
Yeah, they're done and dusted. They can move on to new projects.
But yeah, so yeah, it's based on the novel Grace Hopper and the Invention of the Information Age, which was written by Kurt Baer. So I'm assuming the title is going to be completely changed.
I think you can get a better title.
Yeah, I think the title will be changed. But the film will
be just called The Information Age.
The film will explore how Hopper, who was alive 1906 to 1992, was a decent length of life. That's not a bad one.
That's not bad. That's, 80 something years, right?
She laid the foundation for the development of her technologically dominated world. Her critical and significant yet overlooked achievements include solving the Manhattan Project's final calculations in World War II, developing the first software compiler, and creating COBOL, the ubiquitous computer language that is still used in 60% of today's organizations. So it's all stuff where, like, at surface value, there's not a lot recognizable there, but that sounds like that's a lot of stuff.
Very impressive stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of things that a lot of our current stuff is like built upon.
Yeah, big respect.
It was kind of like The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch, and how, like, we wouldn't have computers if he didn't do what he did. I don't mean Cumberbatch, I mean the character he played, obviously.
Alan Turing.
Thank you. Do you know what? I thought it was Turing, but I didn't want to say that because I was like, see, it makes sense for it to be Turing, hence the Turing test, but I'm not.
Yeah, no, that's the guy.
I'm not confident on it, but yeah. That's actually the part of that film I liked the most, was because even though I figured out what he was doing was basically the first computer. I really liked the moment at the end with and mild spoilers, I guess, for The Imitation Game.
For a historical event, yeah.
But it's the text that comes up at the end. At the end of a true story, it always comes up saying such and such did this years later, and this happened. And it came up saying something like, his invention, whatever they called it in the film, like would go on to be used in all these things, and it'd be used again. It did all this. And it gave you some statistics about how much of them are used or something like that. And at the end, the final words were just, and today we call them computers, which I thought was just the perfect final line for a film where they never call it that in the film because they don't have that word. The word doesn't exist. And I just kind of liked that. It was
it's to go to the true story of that. It's the one good thing about wars is war is the mother of technology and invention and innovation.
Wars and porn.
Porn for formats, I'll give you that. But for actual innovation, war inspires all of that. The idea of stereo sound comes from a war.
If porn wasn't a concept, the camera would have taken another 50 years.
Quite possibly. I won't argue that.
I'm saying that now.
I will not argue that because that sounds feasible. But I'm just saying, wars inspire, they push harder than they have to try and, beat the other side, and the technology then trickles down into everyday society.
Of course. But hey, I like the idea of learning about some of this stuff where, hey, there's people here who are really important. Like, have you never heard of them? Or if you have heard of them, it's like a vague trivia thing.
Like I say, I vaguely recognise the name. I couldn't have told you anything.
Obviously, I'd heard of Turing more than I'd heard of Grace Hopper. Yeah. But because Turing's just a word that's used a lot in things because of what he's done. But I like this. It's kind of like how Hidden Figures with their importance to the space race. I
still haven't seen. But
you should. It's a pretty good movie. It's a bit obviously sentimental in places, but it's
it's there. Like it's on my mind. Like I'll watch that at some point, but I just haven't got around to it yet.
But this, I like the idea of this. And here's someone who is really important to a lot of the things we use today, but you don't know about them but it's essential. So, hey, I like that. So we'll move on to the next story here. And Margot Robbie's got a project called Dangerous Odds. Bold Films is going to finance it. And the Oscar nominee is going to play a cleaning lady turned illegal sports betting empire boss named Marissa Lancaster. I know it's cleaning lady to sports empire or
It's a bit of a stretch, but I buy it.
well, it's based on a true story. So
No, no, I
yeah,
know that's what I mean, but I'm saying
yeah,
it's unlikely but feasible.
yeah. So it's based on the real person's memoirs called "Dangerous Odds: My Secret Life Inside an Illegal $1 Billion Sporting Betting Operation."
Yeah, no
Books
wonder they trimmed the title for that one.
books love to do that. They love. I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with a colon title if like obviously
You like it for sequels, and that's it.
yeah, I've debated it in the past for first movies. Don't get me wrong. You know what? I'll accept it for a first thing to a point anyway. Like, I won't get that mad about it. It's just like a pet. It's not even a pet peeve. It's just if you're making me decide, I wouldn't have a colon with a subtitle in the first movie, right? Fine. But books do like to. They seem to like to do this thing where the thing after the colon is absolutely lengthy as hell, and it's like a.
Do you know what they are? They're not book titles. They're essay titles.
They are. Yeah, you're right. They're essay titles.
That is how I would title an essay, not a book. I don't know. I don't know why they do it, but they insist on it for some reason.
I can see your memoirs now. Ginger. The life of a ginger.
Yeah, the life inside gingerhood. It definitely starts with ginger, colon.
Yeah, ginger, colon.
And then it's definitely the life of, or the life in.
No, the life of a ginger. Because I like the idea that yours is redundant. You don't really need the second part. It's the same thing.
I like to think that I'll have done that because we'll have had this conversation so many times by that point that I'll be making a joke at the idea of colonnated book titles. I'm not sure if colonnated is a word, but it is now.
Colonnated. I feel like something they'd put in like a toothpaste commercial to try and sell it.
Wrong end of the body, but sure.
It'll colonate your teeth.
That's a really horrible thought, isn't it? I don't want my teeth colonnated.
Turns out the colon has some natural acids in it, or not acids.
Well,
acids
I bet it does. I bet it has something in there.
has some natural, just natural fluids that just are good for your mouth.
I bet it does.
Here, someone gullible. Here, here, try some colon fluid.
Oh, so what was the point of this story? Sorry, beyond the book title.
Ginger, the life of someone who's tried some colon fluid. Okay, what was it? Yes, so the Rags to Riches tale is set in the 1980s as she rises through the ranks and takes a pivotal role in establishing the first offshore gambling operation, growing it into a $1 billion a year criminal empire. That is a huge empire to hide, isn't it?
It is. It sounds like a Margot Robbie role.
It sounds like a Margot Robbie role that, well, she'll be good in, but ultimately I don't think the film's going to look that interesting.
I agree. It's like, what was that Jennifer Lawrence one a couple of years ago? Joy.
Ah, yeah.
That was it. It's very similar.
She looks good in it, but the movie doesn't necessarily. Do you know what? I watched this is a bit of a tangent, but I watched they were on a show, Chris Pratt for when Passengers was coming out, and they were playing a game of they each had to like make a dig at the other one, and like if the other person laughed. Like,
I know the show. It's like a BBC radio thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I just saw it on YouTube. Like someone linked it to me, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of funny, and she broke and I broke when Chris Pratt completely, deadpan, looked her in the eye and says, because every time, some of it was like a more complex joke, but this one was just one sentence. It was just this. Why do they call it joy?
Do you know what the thing is? I've seen this thing before. And I know exactly where you were going with that, and I still couldn't help myself but smirk and just give a little chuckle.
Oh, that one, bro. There was a few funny lines, but that was definitely the highlight of the whole thing. Was him just looking her in the eye and saying, "Why did they call it joy?" And as she gets it and then starts laughing, he's just making a dig at her movie for being shit.
Yeah. There's a whole series of those, with various.
Very different guests, yeah. But that I saw that one because someone linked it, and it was really funny.
It's a pretty fun series.
Anyway, so moving on, we have The Red Fire, which is another book that's not even been published yet, that's been turned into a film. Stampede Ventures has preempted it. It's written by Nicolina Torres. is the author of the book. The Red Fire, which has been compared to Insomnia, is a story in Calliope, Nebraska, which follows a small-town sheriff, Evie Hartley, who arrives to find the entire town has been murdered, save for 2 children, missing young siblings. As federal authorities swoop in to search for the perpetrators, the sheriff herself, recently having lost a child, sets off after the missing kids.
Okay, now I remember Insomnia, assuming that's the movie that Nolan did.
Yeah,
you're talking about the same story. This is a bit more severe than that.
Yeah, the entire town get murdered.
From what I remember, I'm pretty sure in that movie they were there to investigate like one murder.
I'm wondering though if they're meaning the tone, like the sort of the cold. And when I say, I'm not just saying because that was set in like Alaska.
No, the whole thing in that where it's it's almost all daylight, isn't it?
Yeah, but like just when I say cold, I mean the cold tone of where it's this really kind of like moody thriller. Like honestly, I think this sounds not bad. Like I see potential in this because who kills a whole town? Like
that's pretty intense. And
I mean, I'm assuming it's a small town, but even a small town, still a lot of people to kill.
It's still at least like 30 people, right? At the very minimum for a small town.
Yeah, that's a really small town. I don't think it's that small.
That's what I mean, like at a bare minimum.
I'm thinking at least a few hundred here.
No, I'm going like absolute minimum.
Okay, for this to be effective, for this to be shocking. I mean, not that killing like 30 people is not shocking. I'm just saying that in the context of a movie having like a big premise, I feel like a few hundred's what you go with.
No, I agree. It's effective, and
and obviously the twist is that it's the kids who did it all, right? That's what we're guessing right now.
Probably, yeah. Probably. I quite like Insomnia, that movie.
As do I. I think
I feel it's underrated.
It gets overlooked. I think it's a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
The original's good as well, but bizarrely because I saw the Nolan version first, I have more attachment to that, and I actually think my favourite part of that movie is missing from the original. So,
is it spoilers to say what it is?
I'll just say the lead character in the original doesn't have any kind of redemptive side. That's all I'll say.
Okay. I know what you're talking about, because I've only seen the Nolan version. I haven't seen the original.
It's missing the heart. It's just pure cold. Again, go back to that word to describe it. It's just pure cold.
Yeah.
But hey, so that's this Red Fire. Next up...
I'm on my radar now, though.
Yeah, on your radar. I mean, obviously, we've not even made it yet, but we'll see. A couple of years' time, maybe we'll get a trailer.
Maybe I'll even check out the book.
So yeah, the writer of Black Klansman and producers David Rabinowitz and Charlie Wechtel are teaming up with New York Times bestselling author Casey Sherman to adapt Sherman's explosive 2013 true crime novel Animal into a movie. Of course, it's a movie show we're doing.
Yeah, we wouldn't be talking about books, would we?
That's why it's here. So it tells the true story of notorious mob hitman turned government witness Joe the Animal Barboza. Oh, I love that name, Barboza. That's great. And U.S. Marshal John Partington.
Not as good a name.
I'll say that again because I kind of flubbed it. Barboza is known as the first man ever placed into the Federal Witness Protection Program. So
they didn't do a great job with the program if everyone knows who he is.
Well, they know who he is now. I mean, the threat was... This turns into a proper action movie sounding here, so this is actually kind of insane. This is based on a true story. So he reportedly killed 26 men in the 1960s before he was convinced by the FBI to testify against the ruthless New England mob boss, Raymond Patriarca, maybe? I don't know. John Parting was sworn to protect Barboza and his family on a remote island in Boston Harbor, even as mafia assassins were attempting to penetrate the island and kill them all. So... I can already see the big third act in this movie is them on this small island thinking it's safe.
Assassins everywhere.
And you've got assassins coming out of the water. coming for
like climbing up the cliffs. I'm assuming cliffs.
And even if that's not exactly, even if that's like glorifying what actually happened, that is easily what Hollywood's going to do to it.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie premise.
Yeah, I think that's a fine premise. I think
this is going to be a fun as balls movie.
I'm usually not into these true stories because I usually feel they're going to have to try and be, true to the source.
Nah, this is turning it up to 11 and just having some fun on it.
Yeah. So hey, yeah, because when I say true stories, I mean specifically gangster stories or
they're often very dry, typically. Aren't they?
Yeah. Oh, obviously there's the other one because that one about the inventor I quite like the sound of.
Yeah.
That's an interesting story to get. But hey, so next up, Universal is doing a remake of Fear. which was a 1996 thriller starring Reese Witherspoon and Mark Wahlberg back when they were like in their like 20s or whatever.
Aye, fresh and baby faced.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I've never heard of this.
You say Fear, I think of the video game series.
I guess I do too if I think about it, but they don't even those don't spring to my mind right away.
Fair enough. You ever played them?
I played some of the first one.
Okay.
I've got all three in the PC. I got them in a bundle for like next to nothing, like years ago.
Of course you did. They're always in them.
I think it was a humble bundle actually. It was like, you know, like pay $1 and get all three Fear games plus like 4 other things.
I think that's how I got them, but well worth playing.
So, yes, so basically what I was getting at there is that Fear's just a bad title for something. I think it's just too short and
it's very generic, isn't it?
Yeah, you have to give it more. And even if those games are good, Fear's still a bad title. And I know it's an acronym for those games, but still, yeah.
Yeah, it's got more going as an acronym, but still not much.
No. So Straight Outta Compton co-writer Jonathan Herman is going to write the script for this. The original film was directed by James Foley, penned by Christopher Crowe, 1996. It centered on Witherspoon meeting Wahlberg's character in what seemed to be a perfect love match until his darker side emerged and it all went off the rails. It's a pretty vague premise.
Generic is what you're looking for.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, it could be good with the right.
It could. It's a generic description, though.
Yeah. But hey, I've never seen it. Never even heard of it.
No, me either. So it might be a good movie. It might be a good premise once you get into it, but it's a generic description that they're giving me there.
So moving on. So these next two might be kind of horror movies. Well, actually, the first one definitely isn't. But the reason why I say the reason why I had it here, and we don't have a horror section. This is from a director who I know from a horror film, which is why it's kind of like I thought this would be right before the horror section, and then there wasn't really a horror section. But so David Robert Mitchell, does that name ring a bell?
The name does. I feel is that The Witch?
It Follows.
It Follows. Okay. Similar time frame.
So he's following that up. His next film is called Under the Silver Lake, and it is a modern day crime noir set in LA and has Andrew Garfield in the lead role. A24 are producing it. And basically the news here was that it's going to premiere in New York and LA in June, but just there, and then it'll expand later on. So who knows when everyone else is going to get to see it, but that's what's happening in June, so it's starting very limited. The film centers on a man who becomes obsessed with the strange circumstances of a billionaire mogul's murder and the kidnapping of a girl. So, not a lot to go on, but basically having him as behind it is...
It gets faith from It Follows, which is a fantastic movie.
One of my favourites of the last few years. On top of that, Disaster Piece, who did the score, also scoring this.
Okay, I'm in. Big fan.
Yep, I love that score. It's a fantastic score.
It is.
So much excited. I even, I think once in a while I've thought, oh, what's this next movie going to be? It's been a couple of years now since It Follows. When's the next one coming? And sure enough, it's coming this year. So
this is one of those where I don't need any more details. I don't need a trailer. I'm gonna go see this.
Nope. Of course, it could end up like Mute, where, oh shit, it was terrible. Damn it.
It could, but give them a chance.
And I'm comparing that.
They can prove us bad.
Yeah, but I'm comparing it to that, of course, because that's another director we like who ended up making a bad movie.
Awful movie.
Which leads us on to our final news story of the week, and that is Big Bad Wolves writer-directors Aaron Cashales and Navot Papashudo will adapt the modern-day vampire thriller We Are All the Monsters Here, from Crystal City Entertainment. So they're going to write and direct, the pair of them. It follows a woman who survives the breakout of a vampire virus that only reveals itself at night. With no family to turn to, she is forced to befriend a young girl infected by the virus, and the two women set out on a unique road trip of survival. So that's kind of the one horror movie this week, so I guess that's the horror section. Is that one news story? Yeah,
and even that could not be that horror-ish.
Yeah, that's the thing, it's debatable. I mean, it's vampires, but this could easily be more of like a action movie, potentially.
Yeah, there's many ways I can see it going from that premise. And, horror is an easy way to take it, but not necessarily the only way.
Yeah, so that's I mean, it sounds okay. I mean, that's not particularly exciting. Like, when it comes to vampires and zombies, I've seen so many vampire and zombie movies that I'm going to have to see a trailer with some style or have talent that I know and care about.
I at least appreciate that it doesn't sound like a typical vampire movie. So
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
it gets something there.
So no, so there you go. That is the news. But we're not done yet because we actually have a whole other section this week before we get to the end. And I didn't get it up in advance because I'm a poo-poo head.
Sorry, I did. I'm just dragging it across so I can see it without looking at the other monitor.
I know you did. So as I travel to the internet Stonehenge that is Wikipedia.
Oh, you're going for Wikipedia. It's a bold choice.
Why is that a bold choice?
I mean, I figure like that's a long-winded way of doing it. You just you just Google it and it comes up. First one I got is a variety list.
I'm just used to the way they set them out.
Oh, no, that's fair.
That's
This is why if my face is suddenly much brighter on the camera, it's because I have a big white screen of this list in front of me.
See, I've got a mod installed so it turns it black. So that
See, I don't need it often enough to bother.
So I don't have the big white light in my face. But hey, that's the thing. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to. What's the best way of doing this? What's the best? You know what? I think I'm just going to have to be weird and go with a pen and paper.
Oh, old school.
I think it's the quickest way of doing this. So.
It means you don't have you clacking on a keyboard as well, which is, a very unprofessional sound to have on a podcast.
It is very unprofessional, and luckily I got some paper, I got a pen.
Oh, it's almost like you're prepared.
Yes. Basically, this has just been sitting there since my Mr. Robot note-taking days, and it's just waiting for some other shows to take notes on that are meaty enough.
Coming in April.
Meaty enough. Yeah, Westworld might be a note-taking world, eh?
I think it might.
Yeah, Westworld might fall into that category. But hey, I wish I was taking more notes than Twin Peaks, though.
Don't we all? Don't we all? I mean, wrong show, but goddamn it, I miss Twin Peaks.
Now, here's a question: do you want to ignore a couple of the categories? You remember when we announced all the nominees? Do you want to ignore the same ones? Documentary, short film.
I've no interest in those. Not because they're bad categories, but because I don't know anything about any of the films, so it'll be a random guess.
Okay, so we'll just start at the top. We'll work our way down.
Oh no! Let's leave Best Picture. Come on, do that one in a bit.
What?
I know, because every list will start with that, but let's leave that a bit. Build up to that one.
All right, Best Director then.
All right, Best Director.
I'm still putting Best Picture at the top though, because.
All right, fine. You can put it there, but we'll talk about that after we do all the other categories.
I'm just putting some columns in.
Okay. So the options for Best Director.
Actually, I've written in Connor. I don't like that. I'm going to scroll that out and put Ginger.
I'll allow it. I know many people have me listed as just Ginger in their phone.
That reminds me of that Curb Your Enthusiasm, which I know you don't watch, but he meets a girl, I think called Wendy, but she happens to be in a wheelchair, and he lists her on her phone as Wendy Wheelchair because it makes him remind him who it is.
Look, I know about 9 different people called Tom, so I have to just put Tom, Tom work, Tom studio, Tom from uni in my phone. It's a mess.
Tom crack dealer.
Does this may or may not be in there?
Tom prostitute.
Look, I listed 3 safe options. The other 6 are up for your imagination.
Tom. Oh, I can't think of any other funny ones, but you get the joke.
You're a great comedian, you are.
I'm not a comedian. I know I'm not a comedian.
No, I'm just saying you gave up. I can't think of any funny ones. That'll do.
I'm unlike Tim. I know I'm not funny, so I don't try.
No. Tim doesn't know yet. He'll get there one day.
Before anyone goes and runs to Tim and tell him I was making fun of him, it's just a light-hearted joke. Don't.
More importantly, Tim listens to about 12 podcasts a day, so he'll listen to it eventually.
He probably will. Yeah, that's a good point. Sorry, Tim. So we're going to start there. Best Director. This is just purely. This is not who we want to win. This is purely who we think is going to win. Of course, me, Connor, and Matt are getting together at the weekend, and we're doing all of our own end of year awards, our own top 10 movies of 2017. We're doing all of that in a separate, special, standalone thing. This is purely guessing who's going to win at the awards themselves, and then next week we're going to tally the scores, which is why I'm ready to do it, because it'll be easier to find if I've just got it behind me. So.
That makes sense. It makes sense.
So best director, Connor.
Director. I'm putting down Del Toro.
Del Toro.
Yeah. I'm feeling it.
I actually think you're right. I think you're right.
It's a boring choice, don't be wrong, but I think it's the easy choice.
I think Del Toro. I think he's getting a lot of praise elsewhere. I think it's the most visually artsy, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong, obviously PTA is typically quite artsy. Christopher Nolan obviously has a very the IMAX stuff. I think Dunkirk's going to walk away with very little. He'll get a few technical things.
Do you know what the thing is? I don't think it'll even get a lot of the technical ones, which we'll get to in a minute. But
yeah.
I think it'll get a lot of the nominations, obviously, but I don't think it's going to quite win much. It's just in the conversation.
No, I can see it being that case. All right, best actor. Who have you got on that?
Best actor, we have Daniel Day-Lewis, Daniel Kaluuya, Gary Oldman, Denzel Washington, and Timothy Chalamet. I believe that's how you say that.
Chalamet.
That sounds wrong. But
I'm just joking. I don't know. I think you're probably right. I thought I'd be funny and just say it phonetically.
The thing is, you might be right. I don't know. I've not heard it said.
I think it's between two. It's either going to be Daniel Day-Lewis or it's going to be Gary Oldman.
Yeah, I think my gut says Gary Oldman, but Daniel Day-Lewis has claimed that this is his final film. It's his retirement, and the Academy loves a story, don't they?
All right, okay, DDL. I'm going with DDL. I'm convinced.
All right, well, okay, I'll take Gary Oldman then, just to have some interest. That was my gut, so I'll go with it.
All right, actress. We got Sally Hawkins, Frances McDormand, Margot Robbie, Saoirse Ronan, and Meryl Streep. This is an interesting one. I think I'm going with Robbie. I feel like this is going to be one of these cases where all the other films are all nominated for Best Picture or whatever else. I, Tonya's not, but I think the reason why that's been brought up in the conversation at all is because of the acting, and I feel like that's where Robbie might swoop in and because I could see McDormand maybe taking it. I can see maybe obviously Meryl Streep nominated.
This is the thing. Meryl Streep's nominated, but that performance is not a winning performance by any means.
No, I concur. I don't think it's going to be Hawkins, and I don't think it's going to be Ronan.
No, I think it's between McDormand and Robbie. Ironically, I, Tonya is the only one of these I've not seen yet.
So I'm going with Robbie, but you.
I think I'm going to have to go with Robbie as well on this one. I think she's the choice that I'm putting my money on.
Okay, Robbie in there, which gets us to supporting actor. What you got?
Supporting actor, we've got Willem Dafoe, Woody Harrelson, Richard Jenkins, Christopher Plummer, and Sam Rockwell. I'm going straight out with Sam Rockwell for this one. I think that's where they're going.
It's interesting. We've got 2 3 billboards options in there.
We do. I think Sam Rockwell has the more interesting role and the more varied performance, though.
I think that's fair. You know what? I find this one's tough to pick now because I remember when they gave it to who's the dude that's in Dunkirk, the one for Bridge of Spies.
Oh, I know you're about the
Rylance, Mark Rylance.
Yes, the other Mark.
I remember that year. It was like a 4-way fight between the others, and then he won. And I remember just being like, "What?"
Yeah. Did you ever see Bridge of Spies?
Nah.
Yeah, don't bother. I remember that. I remember when they said Mark, and Mark Ruffalo started to stand up.
Yeah.
Because I think he was there for Spotlight, I believe.
Yep.
And then they said Rylance, and everyone went, "Wait, what?"
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I guess we'll clap.
Yeah. This one's tough. I'm going to go with Plummer. I think we're going to get an F.U. Spacey moment.
Oh, I can see it. I know. I wouldn't be too surprised with that. So if you're right, I wouldn't be shocked.
Best Supporting Actress, we got Mary J. Blige, Alison Janney, Leslie Manville, Laurie Metcalf, and Octavia Spencer. This is... I'm going back to I, Tonya. I'm going with Alison Janney.
That's fair. I think that's a solid choice. I'm gonna go with Laurie Metcalf though.
Okay, okay.
Oh yeah.
Laurie Metcalf. And then we got original screenplay down here. We got The Big Sick, we got Get Out, Lady Bird, Shape of Water, Three Billboards. This is tough. I could see Three Billboards taking it. I could see Lady Bird taking it. And I think Big Sick's the dark horse. I think Big Sick's the one that could surprise everyone and swoop in.
No, I agree with that. I think it could surprise, but I don't know if I want to put my money on it.
I don't think Get Out and Shape of Water will get it.
I agree with that. I discussed Shape of Water with director, but I don't think its script is as up to par as some of the others.
And I don't think its script should get it, admittedly, but I definitely don't think... I'm definitely thinking... The two main people in this race are Lady Bird and Three Billboards, but I think The Big Sick could sneak in.
Just be a surprise, yeah.
And it would make me feel good if it did, because I actually think that had a really good script.
Oh, I agree with that. Again,
So,
this is one I've actually seen all of these, so I'm gonna go with Three Billboards. That feels like a safe option though, but yeah, maybe I'll be upset.
You know what? I'm going to go with my heart. Big Sick.
Oh, you're going with what you hope as much as what you think.
Well, I think it's got a chance, though. I wouldn't say that if I didn't legitimately think it has a chance.
No, I agree. It does have a chance.
And I think it's... You know, it's the sort of thing that could swoop into... Kind of like how like Ex Machina did it a few years ago. That took screenplay. And it was like, oh, deserved for a start, but like surprising. Adapted screenplay, we got Call Me By Your Name, we have Disaster Artist, we have Logan, we have Molly's Game, and we have Mudbound. I think Call Me By Your Name is going to take it. I feel like that's got a lot of buzz about it, but it's not going to win a lot of other things. So I think adapted screenplay is where that gets the love.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I know Call Me By Your Name is in strong contention for Best Actor. So I'm going to go with Molly's Game. I think it's got a really solid script, and it's by far that movie's best, the best part of that movie. And that might get some respect from the Academy.
Well, that is going to be empty-handed, but we'll see.
It might well, yeah.
I can't comment on Mudbound at all.
Again, yeah, I can't either.
But I don't think Disaster Artist is going to get it for sure.
Mudbound is a Netflix movie, right?
It is, yeah. It's been
So
nominated
that's
for stuff.
interesting that it's even in this conversation.
Right, so next we got animated, and we have Boss Baby, The Breadwinner, Coco, Ferdinand, and Loving Vincent. I have seen absolutely none of them. However, I am going to say Coco because I just expect it.
No, I'm going to say Coco as well, because Disney and Pixar typically sweep this category.
Even when they're not supposed to.
No, I'll agree with that.
Because there's been years where they've sweeped, and I'm like, screw you, there was a better film out that year.
No, that's fair. I think Loving Vincent might be the dark horse of this category, where it has a chance.
Yeah,
but I will go with Coco for this still.
Well, we're going to skip some that we can't really comment on because we don't really have... Like, we don't even hear them talked about that much, never mind having a chance to see any of these yet. So I think foreign language will skip, best documentary will skip, best documentary short will skip, live action short, animated short, and we'll go all the way down to original score, I think is the next one we'll do.
Yes, let me see what's nominated here.
So we have Dunkirk, Phantom Thread, Shape of Water, Last Jedi, Three Billboards. I'm usually given our conversation about the score. I'm actually going to go with Shape of Water. I think that's going to scratch the itch of the Academy.
No, I get that. I think just looking at these, I think Dunkirk was probably the wrong Zimmer score to be nominated this year. Phantom Thread we'll get to in a couple of minutes, but I think the score is the best part of that movie. But I'm going to have to go with Shape of Water. I think the Splat takes it. And
here's the thing. Like, John Williams does a very good job in Star Wars movies, but it's just another Star Wars score, right?
No, I like it a lot. I love it. It's John Williams. John Williams is a master. Let's not dispute that. I don't think it's John Williams' finest work though.
I think. Well, do we skip original song? I feel like.
I'll be honest. Glancing at them, the only ones I've heard are the one from Coco, which I like a lot, and
I've
Greatest
even heard
Showman
that.
I only know from the trailers.
Yeah, Greatest
So,
Showman I know because it's in all the trailers, which I saw.
that's it. Yeah, but well, we can skip it. I'll put money on Coco just for the sake of it.
It'll be
But,
one of those two. I guarantee it's one of those two.
yeah, I agree with that.
So sound editing.
Sound editing. Okay.
And you've got Baby Driver, Blade Runner 2049, Dunkirk, Shape of Water, and Last Jedi. See, this is where I think Dunkirk might get the win.
Maybe. So this is obviously there's a difference for those who are maybe not in the know between sound editing and sound mixing.
Go on, explain it.
Mixing is where how it sits overall. Editing is the effect of the sound itself, the way it was recorded and captured, and the actual tone of it. So a bit different.
Amusingly though, more often than not, you feel that they pair up almost always. Not always,
They
but almost
do
always.
often. But I know my personal choices would be different here. I don't know. They might not necessarily be different in the awards, but my personal choices are different.
Because the next one, of course, is sound mixing.
Yeah. So editing, you've gone with Dunkirk. I'm gonna throw it to Blade Runner. I think Blade Runner's got a chance.
Okay. And then the options in mixing
Are the exact same, are they not?
Baby Driver, Blade Runner, Dunkirk, Ship of Water. Yeah, that's the exact same 5 things.
Yeah.
And again, I think when it comes to, I think the mixing is maybe get more of an argument for others. But
Yeah,
again, I think the most notable thing about Dunkirk, other than how pretty it is just how much it uses the sound of everything around it to really accent everything. So I think Dunkirk, yeah, for me takes both.
That's fair. This is where I differ again, and I go to Baby Driver. I think the sound mixing of the film is the punctuation of the film, because so much of it is based around the cars and the noise they make, and the way the soundtrack, not the score, plays off of that. So I think that's Baby Driver.
Yeah, it's a big part of that movie, absolutely.
Yeah,
but I think it goes on.
I mean, again, these are a bit more subjective. I think they're not as obvious choices for sure in terms of what the Academy are going to pick, but those are my guesses.
Production design, we got Beauty and the Beast, Blade Runner, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Shape of Water. This is a funny one, I think. I think it's going to go to Shape of Water.
Okay. Yeah,
But-
this category is typically split between sci-fi fantasy and period piece. Typically.
And we have
Shape of Water it does both of those.
it's a little bit of both. Beauty and the Beast is kind of maybe a little bit of both because it's kind of its own world it's in.
Yeah. It's kind of like historical fantasy sort of thing.
Blade Runner is obviously sci-fi, and then Darkest Hour and Dunkirk are historical. From relatively close time periods as well.
I mean, they're the exact same. Darkest Hour, the darkest hour in question is Dunkirk.
Oh, really?
Yes, that is like within 2 weeks of Churchill taking office.
All right then. You can tell I didn't see Dunkirk. I saw Dunkirk. You can tell I didn't see Darkest Hour.
I don't know if it tells you that in Darkest Hour exactly. I just know that as a fact.
It didn't tell you?
I mean, I'm sure Dunkirk takes place towards the end of the movie, I think, but it doesn't tell you the exact date.
Okay.
Or maybe it does, but it doesn't tell you.
But how do you not know what they're
12
talking
days.
about? If that's going on, like, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going with Shape of Water. I feel like that's going to be the darling this year, for better or worse. And I feel like production design's a really obvious one to give it because it has got that stylistic European look to it. I think
No.
I think the other possibility would be Dunkirk, but I think it's going to be Shape of Water.
I get what you're saying. I'm going to go with Blade Runner as the dark horse because I think it's doing some really... Yeah, they might appreciate the really interesting things it's doing compared to some of the period pieces, which sometimes the Academy goes for. Sometimes they'll go for the interesting choice rather than the accurate choices.
Right. Cinematography, next.
Yep, 1 second. Let me just find that in my list.
Oh, God. We got Blade Runner, we got Darkest Hour, we got Dunkirk, we got Mudbound, and we got Shape of Water. Again, this is where, like, Dunkirk, I feel like, has got a real chance of it, but I think once again it's going to be the Bridesmaid. It's going to be closest, but not quite get it. And then I think you're going to get. I'm not as confident on this one. I feel like it's going to be between Blade Runner, Mudbound, and Shape of Water.
Yeah, this is one again. The only one I've not seen is Mudbound.
Yeah, I've not seen Darkest Hour either, admittedly, but I don't feel there's a chance
think Darkest Hour looks good, but I don't think it's in contention with the other movies. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, because Dunkirk's obviously it's doing so much insane stuff with IMAX cameras, and it does genuinely look unique.
When you got IMAX cameras on a bloody plane.
Exactly, it's doing insane things. So obviously, it comes off as special in that sense.
It does.
Even if the overall movie I think is lacking in story and all stuff, but. At the same time, and this is the thing, Shape of Water, I feel like cinematography is probably, like, even as you as someone who really likes that movie, is the cinematography necessarily the standout part of it?
I think, again, I love that movie. I think the cinematography is perfectly good at what it's doing. It's doing exactly what it has to do, but I don't think it's going above and beyond like Blade Runner or Dunkirk.
Yeah, I think maybe Blade Runner. I think Blade Runner might take this.
I think Blade Runner will. I think.
At the same time, I wonder, like you said earlier on with like Daniel Day-Lewis, like his last film. I wonder if because the first ever woman who's been nominated for this, is that again the Academy likes the story, and they want to give it to her so they can say, hey, the first ever woman who's won a cinematography award.
I get that. I know. Obviously, when it gets up to this bit, the films in question release their promotional material for why they deserve cinematography is a really common one for them to do it with, or visual effects as well. I feel like I'm seeing a lot of them pushing for Blade Runner, so that's what I'm going with.
Honestly, I think I'm going with Blade Runner as well. I feel like this is maybe the one category where Blade Runner has a chance of really taking it.
Okay.
I'll just double check I've not put that anywhere else to make me sound like I'm stupid. No,
I don't think you have. I've picked it a couple of times, but I don't think you have.
Yeah. And then we got the makeup and the hairstyling. We could skip that one, I suppose. It's not very interesting.
I don't care about that one.
Costume design, again, I feel like that's probably a skip for us. Then we get the last two, which I think we are back on board with, is editing. Which we have Baby Driver, Dunkirk, I, Tonya, Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards. Now, the obvious flashy choice here is Baby Driver.
Yes.
Because it's doing a lot of flashy things with its editing. The question is, though, do they go for the flashy option, or do they go for something that's a bit more...
refined, is the word you're looking for.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, Dunkirk I could see them liking because of the whole 3 timelines thing, and it's splitting between them.
I can see it. I'm putting my money on Baby Driver, though, just because the editing carries that movie. Again, I love that movie, but I do think the editing is the hero of the movie, and I think it will get recognized for that. I might be completely wrong. We'll find out in a couple of days.
Yeah, I'll go as far to say if the editing, like, if you take away the editing out of that movie and just replace it with something a bit more standard, the entire movie falls apart.
It may very well,
because the energy's just not there.
I agree. It is an editor's wet dream, that movie.
Because because the romance plot's okay, but it's a bit thin. It's not very much going on it.
Yeah, sure. And that movie lives on its soundtrack and its editing.
Yeah, and third act problems that I won't go into, but hey ho. So that's for me. I can see Baby Driver obviously winning for the obvious reasons, but I'm tempted to actually go with something a little bit less flashy.
I can appreciate that. I've done it on a couple of categories.
And the fact is, I have heard people talk about I, Tonya's editing. I've not heard anyone talk about Shape of Water's editing. I've not heard anyone talk about 3 Billboards. But I've heard about I, Tonya. So I,
Tonya's the one I've not seen.
I'm going to be wild here and say I, Tonya, because...
Okay.
This is more of a wild card pick. I don't really have anything to base this on. I just, for some reason, I see Baby Driver not winning and it being like an upset.
A bit of a snub.
Yeah, I feel like I'm sensing a snub with this category because it's the obvious one that probably should win.
Yeah.
And I feel like because Kevin Spacey's remotely attached to it,
I kind of want to avoid it. No, I get that.
We don't want to mention that because Kevin Spacey was in it. And then finally we have visual effects.
I think there's one that should win and there's one that might win.
We have Blade Runner, Guardians 2, Kong, Academy Award nominee, Kong Skull Island, Star Wars Last Jedi, which I'd make that joke as well because that's also that's a much worse film than Kong, but it was nominated in other things, so I can't crack my joke. And then War for the Planet of the Apes.
Now,
War should win.
We are in agreement clearly that War should win.
Planet of the Apes by far has the best effects of those movies.
But it got snubbed last time.
It did, by something
that I don't even remember because
I don't remember.
It shouldn't have won, whatever it was.
Someone, when we brought this up last time, we announced all these.
Someone told us.
Someone told us in the comments, but I can't remember now.
But the point is, whatever it was doesn't matter because it should have been Apes.
Yep, it should have been Dawn, and this time it should be War, but they're probably going to be idiots. But you know what? It should win. I mean, Guardians 2 can't win. Star Wars had some spotty elements.
Yeah,
Blade Runner's very pretty. I can see the argument for Blade Runner.
I can see Blade Runner because, again, you know what I'm saying? They're hyping up these, they do the visual effects, cinematography articles. They're talking about a certain scene that took them a year to do.
Do you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put down Apes because I'm going to have the...
You're going to vote with your heart.
Stupid optimism that they're not going to be idiots this time, regardless of how good Blade Runner might look. And it does look great. It does look great.
I'm going to say Blade Runner, but I'm going to say that and hope that you win. I want to be right for the point, but my heart is with Apes.
Well, with that said, we jump back up to the top for Best Film.
Which, honestly, I feel is one of the hardest categories to decide for this year. I don't think there's an obvious winner. That from the Academy's point of view, maybe from your and my point of view, but from the Academy's point of view, I don't think there's an easy one to say it's that.
Given all the other awards, your guilds, your various other things, it's really between three, and I think I would narrow it down to between two.
Go on.
The third one being Call Me by Your Name, but I don't think it's actually going to take it. I think it's between Shape of Water and Three Billboards. I think those are the two.
Yeah, probably. If you want to take one, I'll take the other, just for variety's sake.
I'm taking Three Billboards.
All right. I mean, again, I agree it's between the two, 50-50. I'm not really staking on either. I'll take Shape of Water, though, because, I like that more than you did. And sure, why not?
All right. So we have all our guesses written down. Next week, we will tally the points. And I think to make this interesting, we should have some stakes.
Oh, God. You should have said that beforehand.
No, fun stakes. They're going to be fun stakes. Right? Basically, we're going to agree on an influx episode that we're going to do, depending on which one of us wins.
Okay.
Right? So, I think that's going to be fun. Right? So, we'll do a review of a movie. So,
are we picking the movies now? Because
I
would have
now.
liked some preparation to think of a movie.
No, we're doing it now. We're picking the stakes. The best thing you can think of right now that you think is going to punish me, or you think I would never agree to otherwise. He's doing some research. Look at this.
Mm-hmm. Shut up.
We may have just spent about 30 minutes...
Closer to 40.
Closer to 40. Figuring out what our picks would be for these stakes.
Yeah.
So... my choice, and I'm going with a movie. I'm not intentionally trying to hurt Connor with this. I am going with a movie that I've been intending on watching for a long time and haven't gotten to. Now, there is potential that he'll hate it. It's a film by Bela Tarr, who is known for having shots as long as humanly possible before he has to cut. And it is a film called The Man from London, is the one I'm going with. Because I've seen Werkmeister Harmonies from like 2000-ish, and I've seen The Touring Horse from probably about 5 years ago now. And all these films are in black and white. They're art house, like, jerk-off fests. And I've loved both the ones I watched. And this is a great excuse to watch the next one and put someone else through it so I can actually talk to someone about it. Because I've never met someone else who's watched any of these. So, The Man from London is my pick.
Okay.
These films are typically in Hungarian.
Okay, no. So my full disclosure, my original choice was evil as shit, and it was so evil, Pete couldn't find something harsh enough to match it. So I toned down a little bit.
Because what's the thing? Connor doesn't hate anything quite the same way I hate what he was getting at.
No. I won't say what it is now, but he really would have hated it. Like, and he knows he would have hated it.
So, what's your pick then?
So instead, I'm going with something that Pete might not like, because, I mean, this is a punishment after all for losing. But yeah, there's a chance he might. There is.
I picked something I've been meaning to watch and I wanted to have an excuse to watch. You're going out of your way to be mean.
Okay, but this is something I saw when it got a theatrical release and I loved. And it was something different. So yeah, and I want an excuse to rewatch it because I've not seen it since. So mine is the Kevin Smith movie Tusk, which is a bit of an oddity. And I know Peter's not a big fan of Kevin Smith, but if there is a Kevin Smith movie to change his mind, it's this one.
I can't even be nasty right now. I just survived a heart attack.
Exactly. This is it. You got to just take it. To be fair, he admits all the time that he makes stupid movies that probably shouldn't get funded, but somehow do. So,
Somehow. All right, so those are the stakes.
Yeah.
If I win, we'll be doing The Man from London sometime later in the month on Influx. If Connor wins, we'll be doing Tusk. Those are the stakes. That's what's happening.
Yes.
So long takes. This is a director, Bellatar is a director, who once said that he saw. I mean, obviously this is kind of irrelevant now in the age of everything going digital, but he once said that he believed that the length of a film reel was a form of censorship.
Yes. Well, this is a man in a walrus suit. So screw you.
From a moron by the name of Kevin Smith.
I wouldn't say moron. Visionary, perhaps.
Okay, maybe call him a moron's harsh. Man who writes moronic dialogue for moronic characters.
That might be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I love his movies. They're not all of them, but I love a lot of them. But that might be fair.
Oh my god, I hated Red State so much.
I didn't see that one. I'll be honest. That was one I thought, maybe not.
Oh dear. Anyway, that is. Oh, I suppose you want to talk about movies you've seen this past week.
Yeah, because I watched movies.
Let's churn this out quickly. I've watched a lot of movies, but all for review purposes. This week I did an Overload. I did an Influx. I did a Screams. I did a commentary. I was all over the place. What did you watch?
All right, fine. First up, I watched The Mummy. From last year.
Yeah, specify. There's been a lot of films called The Mummy.
I was getting to. I was thinking. Shit. Yeah, I need to do that.
It was garbage, right? You agree?
It's mediocre. I don't think it's garbage.
It's absolute garbage. No.
I think it was fine. Admittedly, I didn't. I kind of had it on as background noise. It was kind of just on. It didn't get my full attention like you did when you saw it in the cinema.
No, garbage.
Okay, fine. Next up, one you didn't see. You'll probably say it's garbage anyway, but this is King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, the Guy Ritchie King Arthur movie.
Look like garbage.
Honestly, it probably is garbage, but I had fun with it. It's got style. It's got style to it, and there are some things in it that are just so fun. They're stupid. They're probably awful, but it's so fun that I enjoyed watching it because of that. Even though I don't think I will say it's not a good movie, but I had fun with it.
Yeah, I'm not a Guy Ritchie fan. So I mean, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels was decent fun. So I think some of his early stuff I might enjoy, but I didn't like his Sherlock Holmes movies, which I know people do like. But...
Yeah, I like those as well. I like those a lot. I like The Man from U.N.C.L.E. a lot. I think that might be my favourite movie of his.
I haven't seen that for obvious reasons.
That's very good. So I watched Little Evil. Yeah, Netflix horror comedy. Because I think I've had one of those a week for the last 3 weeks. It's solid. It's fine. You see this one?
Nah. Somehow we didn't get to this one, despite the fact that Adam Scott's in it. But
yeah, it's pretty good. Man thinks his stepchild is the devil, or the spawn of the devil, and it's all about learning to be a father. Classic.
Better than Only Fools and Horses.
Do you know what? I can't argue that.
I've not even seen the movie, but I know it was better than Only Fools and Horses.
No, you're right. It was. This is perfectly good, and it's if you want a fun time for an hour and a half, go for it. What else? Watched another Netflix movie. I followed up with Okja, which I know you and Matt did early in the year. Yeah, when that came out, I think I liked it more than you and Matt did.
It went to a weird place for me where I wasn't really sure how to feel about anything it was doing. I was like, I'm kind of getting the points you're making, but like as a movie with a movie structure and like payoff to what's been happening, I'm not sure if it like there's a point where it's like, oh, it's all adventure and she's riding on this big, animal, this big pig thing through the streets, and there's some fun action sequences. The last
and then
act,
it gets really serious.
It gets really serious, and
Yeah.
No,
I can't argue with that. But ultimately, I think it just landed a bit more for me. And then the one I will actually spend a little bit of time talking about comparatively, because this is the one that we might have covered as a pairing, but I advise you not to bother.
Basically, I mean, I was going to do it. I was going to watch it as well. I was going to go see it so that we could, but our awards are this Sunday. The Oscars are this Sunday, and I just didn't have time.
Yeah, this is Phantom Thread. I thought this movie was boring as shit. Like, do you know what the worst part is? It's not even that it's slow paced. It's extremely slow for about 2/3, and then it hits a point and it just does event, and I'm like, whoa, slow down, give some of these some breathing room. But no, just one scene to the next, it's jumping months at a time, and I'm like, what are you doing here? Acting, it's pretty good. I don't think it's standout, don't get me wrong, but it's pretty good. Music is by far the best part. I did have the piano theme stuck in my head for a good, day or two.
Yeah, I've not seen a lot of PTA stuff. I've seen Magnolia, and I've seen There Will Be Blood. That's the only films from Paul Thomas Anderson that I've seen.
Honestly, I don't know. I can tell you that the point of this movie is. I think because it's supposed to be this big character piece, but I don't like any of the characters. I think they're all kind of really uninteresting characters to follow. So I kind of see, this is supposed to be their motivation. This is supposed to be their arc. But ultimately, I didn't give a shit about any of what was going on. So, yeah.
It makes some enemies because there's a lot of diehard Paul Thomas Anderson fans.
I know there is. But, this is public on my letterbox. You can see that. I stick by my guns. And I'm sorry, I wanted to like it. This was the 7th out of the 9 Best Picture movies I needed to watch, and I put it off towards the end because I didn't really want to watch it so much. But honestly, if this wasn't a Best Picture movie, I never would have watched it, and I kind of regret watching it. I regret spending 2 hours of my life on that.
I'd still pick it over Darkest Hour to watch.
Oh no. Absolutely not. I like that a lot. This bored me to shit. I was basically falling asleep watching this.
Oh well, I guess that wraps up that section of the show. So that is our movie news. Obviously, I'll just tell you what came out this week in terms of movie reviews. We did do a review for The Shape of Water. We both got a chance to see it finally, and that is up. It's a 1.21 Jigowatts. We also had the 1.21 in Flux go up of The Villainess, which is a Korean action film. It's a revenge film. We talked about that. Also, streams after midnight this week, me and Tim had The Tragedy Girls go up, which... we're starting a later schedule for a month or two because Tim's facing a lot of overtime. We explained it quite heavily in the episode itself, although we made it sound much worse in the episode than, like, since we've recorded what it seems like it's going to be. Like, now it seems like it'll be a month or two, as opposed to in the episode it was like, oh, we have no idea how long this is going to be. This could be 6 months. It's not going to be 6 months. It's just fine. But Tim... he's basically getting a lot of overtime, and it's been very difficult to fit in the regular weeknight schedule. So there's still the Patreon pick coming in March, and probably another film maybe around as well. But it's definitely just taking a little bit of time to be later for the next little while.
To be fair, you guys pump through over the X amount of time you've been doing, you average way more than one a week.
Oh, we do. October we were doing 5 a week plus like a countdown video.
Yeah, you guys did something like, out of the 31 days of October, you guys did like 29 or 30 videos, I think. Yep.
And it damn near killed us, so that's the thing. So it's a small time period, a little late schedule, so there is one coming this coming week actually, because the Patreon pick from the February, we already recorded that, and I intentionally held it back, thinking, well, there's going to be less episodes, I'll spread what's to go out over an extra week.
Makes sense.
So obviously the Influx that goes up early in Patreon didn't go up today because the Overload for February went up today at the time of recording, so that's already up for the patrons. That is Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. That's me and Matt. This week's In Flux is going to be Blade of the Immortal for Patreon. That'll be up sometime over the weekend, and then it'll be up on the usual Friday for the public next week. So that's what's coming then. And you can expect at least one more Gigawatts, which may or may not be for a film that is in the Oscar race. Probably on Sunday. It'll probably be a couple hours before the Oscars actually starts.
It's funny because you may be able to guess what it is based on our conversation of the Oscars. You can go, right, okay, what's not been seen and what could it have been?
Well,
there's limited options.
I haven't watched it yet. You did say you'd seen everything in some categories, and I didn't.
Yeah, I've seen it and Peter hasn't, so that limits it.
That does limit it. I'll be squeezing in this movie over the weekend myself. Amongst everything else, it's a very busy weekend actually. Between
bloody Oscars,
between awards and the usual stuff that we do, comics podcast, Shield's back, busy week, and I'm addicted to XCOM 2, which is a really big problem right now. So that is our movie news. So thank you very much for sticking around. If you have somehow throughout that shambles, I have no idea how long that was because we had to cut when we were thinking of movies. So I have no idea how many pieces we've had. Usually it's easy. It's like, how many 30-minute pieces? I think we're like hitting 2:30. I'm not sure though. I don't think
it was the longest episode we've done, but
because we've hit 2:40 before. I don't think we've quite hit that. Yeah. But we'll find out. So let us know what you thought of any of the news that come up this week. Like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fudge for channel updates. If you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. There is a link in the description to that. And of course you can go over there and check out the early stuff, the bonus stuff, the voting. The voting winners of February were posted over there already, and the new voting for the $5 patrons will be up sometime within the next few days. We're just kind of finalising the choices and whatnot. So otherwise, that is us, guys. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Sorry for the audio listeners who got their episode split in two again, but hey, you had 1 week of one chunk. That's us, guys. We'll see you next time.